Welcome to the Thursday night live betting clinic, otherwise known as the Week 16 NFL Picks Against the Spread show. Going to talk about what transpired tonight, the insanity, not just the game, but the betting. It was very incredible. I can't believe how that game unfolded. But before we get into everything, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, I'm wearing something from the merch store. It is our ultra fancy Walter football light blue t-shirt with the winnings tonight. You could probably buy 5 or 6 more of these. So you can go to our merch store here, get them, and you might be like, where is this fancy shirt? I don't see the light blue one. I only see green. You could change the colors of these shirts. You can get long sleeve, you can get hoodie, infant onesie, and women's tank top. We also have mugs, our apron, our baseball cap. We have a lot here. And we have a 15% off sale right now. So maybe you can get like 7 of them. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Jerks of the College Years, where I made fun of people at Penn State. It was a lot of fun to write. And I think you guys have a lot of fun reading it. And then my first book was The Safety and a Field Goal, where it was a top 5 topic book about the NFL. Mostly fun stuff, but mostly serious stuff, some fun stuff as well. Some crazy stories that you may not have heard unless you've read the book. And please consider super chats and super stickers. That's the best way to support the show. I can't say that enough. It's YouTube ads are bad enough now. In 2 weeks, they're going to be awful because Q1 is going to be heading around the corner, and no one advertises in Q1, especially in January. So we need your help. Please consider donating to us. Most recently, we had Kevin Kovac and Anthony Jackson. Before that, Slew and John Sanders. Thank you guys so much. Just really appreciate it. All right, we are joined by Evan Daniel. Evan, how's it going? I trust all's going well tonight, considering the insanity that we just saw both in the game and the live betting.
Yeah, before we get to tonight's insanity, we can go back to week 15. We did a pretty good job last week of identifying a bunch of games and then getting off of those games with injury reports. So we went 3-2, which is not great, not bad, winning week. And when we got off the Cardinals, that was a game that we thought about, a lot of injuries, and we got off the Browns, a team that was missing like half their team. And that was good because for most of the season, those were the games that we were on and just had no chance. And those games were over pretty much, after the first quarter. Those games, both of them were done. So we did a nice job paying attention to injury reports where it mattered. Got away from some of those would-be losses. We stuck to the Jets. I want to say the Jaguars, which was an easy win. We were on the Bills. That didn't look good going in, but the Bills proved that they are definitely a contender this year. And the Patriots, while I know the Patriots are a good team, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Ravens game this week. The Patriots are going to have to start to prove it because they really haven't beaten anybody, and they have taken care of business. You can only play the schedule. But the Pats are a team that they're going to have to start proving it. And one of the things that we talked about last year into the season is strength of schedule and kind of a team's resume going into the playoffs. Now, the weird thing is this year, so many of these teams have bad resumes. Ironically, the Panthers probably have one of the best resumes because they've beaten teams like the Packers, the Rams, the Cowboys. The Cowboys might not be an above average team. I think they are. So the Panthers have some good wins. And then you look at teams like the Broncos, the Bears, and the aforementioned Patriots, and they just haven't beaten anybody. So does that mean they're not good? No, it doesn't mean that they're not good, but they're going to have to start proving it. We were on Buffalo last week. And, of course, some of the underdogs that we had. I was on the Chargers in the Super Contest, and we were both on the Vikings outright winners. So that was good. I think the best part of last week, and kind of we dwarfed it tonight, was following the live betting markets. And we'll talk about Trevor Lawrence a little bit when we get to that game. But we were all over Lawrence last week on the Jets game. I think at halftime, he had like 192 or 194 passing yards.
Yep.
And his prop total at halftime was in the mid-200s, like 250. Call it around 250. And that was just an easy winner. We had the 250 there, and then we laddered it to 300 and 325. And on the last play that he threw a 45-yard screen pass to get to 330. And I won 18 units on Trevor Lawrence. So we talk about these games, 1 unit bet, 2 unit bet, 3 unit bet. I wouldn't go crazy pregame ever. I don't want to bet these straight games. At best, we're going to hit 55 to 57%. As a matter of fact, I've been under that for this season. But if you're paying attention to the live markets, not just teams coming back like Buffalo or team total overs tonight. You'll see my first bet tonight, I told you, was Rams over 22.5. They had at the time 13. Rams over 22.5. And yeah, you don't go crazy, right? Put $100 on the bet. You don't want to start going crazy, especially as you see I take so many throughout the game. My volume is high. So I don't want to throw. You never know what's going to happen. And obviously game situation really does matter. But Rams over 22.5 tonight was a joke. And at halftime, Stafford had, again, like 190 thereabouts, somewhere in that ballpark, just under 200 yards. Mm-hmm. And his line was 265. It's like, why is his line only 265? And then you play the ladders. You see Stafford 325, Stafford 350. And normally, and I yell at you all the time about this, play a unit, play your regular, if you're playing $100 a bet, play the 100. It's like, why not? Right? It's a mispriced bet. But yeah, all right, I'll play both of them. Just cut the bet in half. And of course, we hit both of those. Puka had 74 yards in the first half. His line is a 111.5. These are all halftime bets. 111.5. That's a joke. At one point, that dropped to 92, and I was going to play it again. And then on the next play, he had a 45-yard catch, so I lost it, or lost the opportunity to bet it. But I already had 150 and 175 on the ladder. Again, half unit bets. Just what am I doing? Thursday night, I don't want to lose too much. Again, you're throwing out at halftime $600, $700, $800 worth of risk. So at some point, you want to mitigate your risk. But these are all good high EV bets, and these hit without overtime. Now, what I like to do is the combination on the passing yards. You see combo 600. That's a 13-1 play. That was easy. I actually was kicking myself because I told you, let's bet the 700. It was 100-1.
Yeah, I looked at it before you mentioned to me. I'm like, what if I put $25 on this?
Yeah, why not? 100-1. You would have paid $2,500. I would have put $50 on it for $5,000. Mm-hmm. But instead, I had the combo 600, and I always play these games with either QB to get to 400 yards, and I use the boost on that. You try to use your boosts on the highest odds, right? Because you want to maximize the boost. And of course, I was maxed out anyway at $50, so $50 paid $2,300. So in this game alone, I won 60 units. By the way, that's SGP 50 for 800 or 750 there. That hit on the last Kyron Williams run needed 70 yards. He got to exactly 70. So what a night. Live betting, QB, Puka, passing, receiving, props in the live markets. I did at one point play yes overtime and no overtime because I found plus 185 on the yes, minus 150 on the no. That's an automatic win when you play plus 185 and minus 150. Why not? It's not there because there's no risk involved. So just you write it down and you automatically win and you go to the bank. But this was such a wonderful game, the best game of the season by a mile. And hopefully next Monday night, we have the Rams again. Hopefully, and I said to you at halftime, all we need in this game is Seattle to score. If Seattle will score, Stafford will keep throwing. If Atlanta will move the football next week, if Kirk Cousins doesn't throw the horrendous picks that Darnold did tonight, and even with those picks, I think the punt return was the biggest play of the game for us because it was an automatic quick 7 points. And of course, that crazy 2-point conversion forced Stafford to have to throw again. And then, of course, overtime got us, the final overs. But next week, pay attention. If you're looking at that game and Atlanta's up or Atlanta's equal, Stafford's throwing the ball. And these lines are totally mispriced. Do I post any of these? Well, Walter posts them for me.
Yeah,
so
I
text Walter the bets immediately.
Yeah.
I'm not really on Twitter, X, whatever. I'm not really on social media as much or really at all. I don't really follow it so much, especially during the games. I'm looking at multiple screens with offshore accounts, FanDuel accounts, DraftKings looking for good numbers. And people think it's like crazy. I don't enjoy the game. I absolutely love the game. I enjoy the game immensely. I especially enjoy winning $6,000 on player props during a great game. And I'm a Niner fan, so I needed Seattle to win to keep the Niners' chances alive. This was a fantastic game across the board. But I texted Walter during the game. We were going through Walt's betting these games as well and posting some of them, the ladders. But the point isn't for me to post them and you fail. Learn now what to do. When you see these high-scoring output games, play the quarterback yards over, play the top receiver over. If a team is up big, play a team that's behind that player prop for passing yards over. Maybe the team that's winning, you could play the running back props over. And, of course, team totals. The Rams were ahead in the game, so Seattle's favored to come back a little bit, which diminishes the Rams' team total to 22.5. That's a joke. The Rams get 9.5 points in the second half. Why wouldn't they get not? They don't always. Remember, I mentioned a while ago, in that Jacksonville game where they're up by 30. So they're not trying to score, but they're not up by 30 in this game. There was a 2-score game. They're up by 16 at the most. So they're still trying to score the ball. They're still trying to throw the ball downfield. Over 22.5. I yell at myself because why is that not a 2 or 3 or 4 unit bet? But again, you don't go crazy. Maintain discipline. As you see, I write everything down. Everything is documented. I have a spreadsheet that tracks every dollar that I'm risking, winning, and losing to hold you accountable to yourself, obviously, because you don't want to get too crazy. You don't want to look at your account all of a sudden you're in a negative, right? So maintain discipline, but this is an easy way to learn how to live bet these games and take advantage of, like I said, mispriced odds in the markets.
Real quick, Kim Make an Eagle, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Kim Make an Eagle. It says, went to the first Seahawks preseason game in the Kingdom versus the 49ers. That was a while ago. Hope they can win at Carolina and San Francisco. That's awesome that you went to that game back then. I like the old Seattle logo back then. I like when I actually like the uniforms more, like the royal blue. I'm a big fan of those when they wear those. So that's awesome. And yeah, they could certainly win at Carolina, although the Carolina beat the Rams at home too. So you can't take that game lightly. And after this game, there could be a letdown. We'll see. 1976. Nice. Kevin Kovac, $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Kevin. The live lines change by the second. It's almost impossible to post those. Can you two explain laddering and pros, cons, as well as for us casual office pool non-bettors? It always comes up with Evan.
So before we talk laddering, there was another comment about that's why the sportsbook limit the props to $200. And that's true. First of all, anything can happen. Number one, injuries can happen. So you don't want to see a bet. Let's say you have Stafford is at 200 yards and his line is 201.5. Mm-hmm. What happens when he gets knocked out on the next play? You're going to risk your entire bankroll on a player prop where he actually went to the blue tent at one point after getting hit in the ribs. So even though he needed, I think at the time he had 303 yards and I needed, my first ladder was 325. And I'm thinking, he's not going to throw the ball or he may be out. So even if a bet looks so obvious, never, ever risk your entire bankroll on anything. You never know what can happen. We've seen crazy things happen. As a matter of fact, even after I won one of the bets, I forgot I texted you. I forget which one it was. Somebody, was it Kyron Williams bet when he got to 60 maybe? I think he had 64 receiving. Those bets are receiving, not rushing. And they were trying to cash me out for less than the win. And I think I said, do they think he's going to have a negative? Oh, no, maybe it was a receiver.
That was Puka. Yeah, it was Puka.
I think Puka got to 130, and I had over the 111, and they were offering me a cash out like 95%. I said, is he going to lose 20 yards? But by the way, if he were over by 2, what if he has a catch for -2 or -3, right? So nothing is ever an absolute guarantee. So you have to maintain discipline. And that's why I try to be very disciplined with single straight unit bets and not just get crazy. So, and yes, they do limit me. I can't physically bet. Even if I wanted to bet $1,000 on a prop, I wouldn't be able to. So, you do it little by little and you do it to have fun. We're not trying to make a living live betting player props, although it is nice to win $6,000 on a Thursday night football game. Now, laddering. Let's explain the laddering situation because we talked about this before we went live. Stafford as a perfect example. Halftime, I think he had let's call it 190, 195, in that ballpark. His over-under for the game, what was his over-under for the game? It was probably somewhere in the 230 to 250 range. Mm-hmm. So you figure it's about 125 per half. But they're up at halftime. So the line adjusts because they don't expect him to be throwing as much with the lead. And you texted me at halftime. And by the way, halftime is a great time to do this because that's when the lines are not necessarily moving around at the snap of a finger.
Right.
So look at halftime, look between drives, look between quarters. So at halftime, his line at the time, I think it was the 265.5, which put him around, he must have been in the 170s. I think that line was like 97 yards for the second half. Mm-hmm. So the over-under, the 50-50 bet, call it, is 97 yards. To get him to 300, which I didn't bet because I didn't think it was worth it, I took the 325, which is plus 750, and the 350 was plus 1,400. I don't remember what the 300 was, probably somewhere in the 300, 3-1 or 4-1 range. So the idea, the premise is that his ladder to get to 300 is about 40% or 30% more than his actual number. So let's use a team total or a game total from the start of a game. If you see a game that has an over-under of, let's say, 42, If you add 40% to that line, that over-under becomes like 57. That's a big, big jump on an overall spread. But it's not a big jump for me on an over-under for player props because it's one pass. You're one pass away. You're one big play downfield from a 25, 35-yard pass play, and they don't account for that as much. Getting the points is multiple drives, but getting the yards could be one drive depending on where the ball starts. As a matter of fact, there was a play late in the game, and then there was a holding penalty, and I said to you, more yards. Here we go. We're going to get more yards now. So they don't account for that properly. So because they have these, when I say ladder it, they're playing these tranches of getting 300 plus, 325 plus, 350 plus, and they're just manipulating the odds. Look at those odds difference, plus 750 to plus 1400 for 25 yards more. That is an absolute joke. If you think he's getting to 325, why can't he hit 350? The combination of both quarterbacks to reach 600 yards was plus 1,300. The combination of them getting to 700 yards was 100 to 1. There's not that much of a difference. If the game goes to overtime, which is a possibility, you're going to win. Now, most of these bets didn't win because of overtime. These bets won because the game was a crazy finish with the 2-point conversions that forced Stafford, and then they missed a field goal and forced Darnold into throwing situations. So the ladder is where you go at halftime, you like an over-under, forget the even money bet. Puka, you see Puka 111.5. Don't even bet that. Just play Puka 125. You'll get odds on it. If he's going to go up over 111.5, chances are he's going to get to 125 because he was at 74 to begin with. So you're looking at him to get 60 yards or 55 yards instead of 45 yards or 40 yards. So it's not that much of a difference, but you're getting the major plus price, which is why I tell you to play it as a regular unit and not play the half unit. The only reason why you see my spreadsheet here playing half units is because I literally sat at halftime and took a bunch of these. It was 100, 200, 300, 4, 5, 6, about $800 worth of bets. So to mitigate my risk on the game, instead of throwing out $1,500 at halftime, I played about $800 at halftime and just see where we're at, right? And if I like situations, sometimes you'll start winning these earlier in the game and just keep going, right? If I'm on the live straight bet, the 111.5, and he hits, I'll bet I already had the Puka 150 and 175. If I didn't have those, I would have played it when he had 141. His line, I think, was like 146.5. It's another 5. It's not one more catch. Why not play that? So, but I already had it. So there's no reason for me to play that again because I had the plus 520 on the $50 bet. So that's what laddering is. That's what laddering does. By the way, I do this all the time. You don't always win, but when you hit a game, you're going to hit it big. When you lose, just be disciplined. Don't chase. There's no reason to chase, and follow the game situation. If the game situation is such that it's a blowout, you're not chasing Stafford yards when he's probably not throwing. Last week, Trevor Lawrence, he was probably going to sit in that fourth quarter. He throws one screen pass, goes for 45 yards, and he takes a seat on the bench, ends with 330. We won a plus 1,200 play on the 325 yards on one screen pass. But we hit the overs straight, and the over straight covered the ladders. So if he didn't hit those, we go away. I lost Drake May. Drake May had 43 yards rushing. I played over 46.5, laddered it to 60 and 70. He didn't get another yard rushing the rest of the game. And I played that close to halftime, maybe right into early third quarter. So that's $300 down the drain right there on Drake May. And I lost the same on Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had 99 yards. His line at the time was 115.5. It was late in the fourth quarter. I figure if the Ravens get the ball back, they're going to run the ball. What happened? Burrow, who was high, threw a pick six. So the Ravens never got the ball back because if the Cincinnati Bengals score and the Ravens get the ball, Henry's getting the ball. And the Bengals had no interest in tackling, except there was a pick six. Bengals ball again, more time comes off the clock. So I lost Henry getting 15 yards. That was the straight. And then I don't remember what the ladders were, but that's another 300 down the drain. So between May and Henry, you drop 600 in a blink of an eye. Luckily, Lawrence, 1,800 back, won the other way. So you got to be my number one piece of advice. Anybody who's betting live, discipline. Write things down. Hold yourself accountable. Don't go crazy. You're not going to always win. As a matter of fact, you might not even win 50% of the time. But when you're playing the odds like I do, you're going to profit long-term significantly. And that's the advantage of laddering. And that's why, Walt, don't do quarter units. Play the unit. If you lose, you lose. Right? No big deal. But when you win, we're going to talk now about, I'm going to put 2 units on, I don't know, the Cardinals or whoever the game we're going to talk about is. 3 units. I'm not. I have no interest. I'm not guessing. I'm not here to guess. I'm here to play the odds and take advantage of faulty algorithms because I'm going to play every game. I'm going to put 10 to 20 units on a single game if I find the opportunity to do it. And you know what? If I go into a game and the opportunity doesn't present itself, I don't have to bet at all. I went into this game tonight with $0 on the game. Zero. Thursday Night Football standalone game, I had no action. And I told you last week I liked Seattle in the game, and I was rooting for Seattle in the game. I had $0 of action on this game until halftime.
Yeah. Actually, my kids were just going crazy tonight. I actually forgot to bet it before the game, and I was putting my son to bed. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to bet the game. And I go on FanDuel and I noticed that the Rams are already down 7-0. And so I placed a bet. I actually had +5.5. It didn't matter because they covered the +1.5 anyway, but I ended up with +5.5. So like I would have been covered in overtime in most scenarios. So that was it was a crazy game. So you're saying to make things clear. So you're saying for Puka, to bet 100 on Puka at 115.5, bet 100 on 150, and bet 100 on 175, all hundreds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Well, I don't know. I feel like it's a little
Or
risky.
go 200 on the 111.5 because the 111.5 is a great bet. When you talk about these games that we're going to talk about, right. Puka 111.5 at halftime was a better bet tonight than any game we're going to talk about. I like at halftime. I know what I like this week. Not much, right? And we'll talk about hopefully both sides of the games, right? Because that's the idea here. People say, "Oh, your picks suck." Yeah, my picks this year have been bad going in. I'm actually like under 50%. I think my record for the first time in 16 years is below 500, and our contest picks are 34 and 40. So nothing to write home about. But we're up a significant amount of money betting these games, especially live. So Puka to get. What was it? I think he had 74. So you're looking at 36 yards in the second half. There's not a single bet on the board this week that anyone's going to find that's better than Puka Nacua to get over 36.5 receiving yards in the second half of tonight's game. The only way he wasn't getting to 36 yards is with an injury.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe it when we tweeted that out to me or he texted it to me. I'm like he could definitely. That's easy. Like, and I know, and like, okay, the Rams are up. Maybe they don't throw as much. In some scenarios, if the Seahawks don't score at all, then they're not throwing it all. But I'm like, even still, like, you should be able to get to 111.5. And then you're like, okay, 150, 175. We'll bet those just in case the Rams have to throw. So
that's why I said to you, like, let's go half units. Let's go slow here because if Seattle didn't score on that first drive. You said to me, you wrote, do we take Rams? If they don't score, do we take Rams running backs? I said no, because we know the Rams now at this stage of the season, if you're watching enough football and you watch enough of these games, you know the Rams are coming out throwing the ball in the third quarter, regardless of the situation with Seattle, because it's only a one-score game. And they've been doing that all season. They're going to come out in the first drive, they're going to throw the ball. So on that first drive, that first 5 or 6 minutes of the game, we had an inclination that the script would be throwing the ball. Now, Seattle did a really nice job because they bracketed him and they kind of took him away in the third quarter. There was other guys Mumford that was getting targets. So we had a situation where Puka just didn't do much in that quarter. Yeah. Now, thankfully, Seattle ended up scoring and it forced a situation where they would throw more. But even with a 16-point lead, the Rams were still throwing the ball and they were throwing the ball on first down. You know who wasn't throwing the ball? Clint Kubiak, which we said on 2nd and 10, what are you doing on 2nd and 10? And you said at one point, well, it's 1st and 20. You have to take the opportunity to run the ball first and 20.
Yeah, it never happens. You have to run the ball there.
Just poor game plan in that situation because he loves a good balance.
Yeah, we saw it last week with Kubiak. He didn't adjust. The Colts are missing their top 2 corners, and all he did was run the ball with Kenneth Walker for 2-yard gains. Like, the game plan made no sense. I have no faith in this guy. Now the Seahawks ended up winning, so it's hard to criticize them. But these are situations that could arise in the next couple of weeks or the playoffs. So, despite Seattle's win, I'm not going to put them number 1. I'm going to have the Rams still there.
Absolutely, and I actually told you mid-game because again, this is why results sometimes don't actually matter, right? It's really about the game flow. After Darnold's second pick, I said we have to lower Seattle. Now, I'm not lowering Seattle. I kept them flat. I have them fourth in the league right now, which I think is probably generous, but I have them fourth. And the reason why I'm keeping them flat is because the defense really did step up late, and they made plays when plays were needed to be made. Now, let's be fair. And Warren Sharp posted this. The 2-point conversion, which I never knew that rule. So that's a backwards pass, hits the guy in the helmet. It's a live ball fumble. The whistle blew. When the whistle blows, the play is dead. Yeah. And that's why all the players stopped playing. So that's a crazy sequence where you can hear, and again, I'm going off of Warren Sharp's Twitter feed. I'm watching the video on his Twitter. You hear a whistle. The play is over. So if I'm a Rams fan, I'm going crazy. If I'm McVay, that game is over. Maybe it's not over because there's still time left for them to get the ball back. But that is utterly ridiculous that play happened the way it did. But you have to give Seattle credit. Even in overtime, by the way, they kick off. I understand kicking off, but their defense is gassed.
Right.
So that's a tough spot to put your defense in. But let's give Darnold credit. Last drive of the game, overtime, down by 7, you got to get a touchdown. They did. You got to get the 2. He did. So I'm keeping them flat, and I don't necessarily raise the Rams, but I come away from the game, I don't want to say more impressed with the Rams. I know exactly what I'm getting. But the Rams continue to show that they're really, and you and I argued about this mid-game, that they're really a very, very good team. I still don't think they're compared to some of the top teams last year or the year before. I still think Chiefs, Bills, Lions, Ravens last year are better than this version of the Rams. We could disagree on that. That's fine. But the Rams are definitely the best team in the league. And they're the best team in the league by a margin. A slight margin over Buffalo and a wide margin over everybody else, despite the loss tonight. Now, the loss tonight, it's going to be Seattle or the Niners with the 1 seed, which is crazy. And the Rams are going to end up going back to Carolina, maybe, for a rematch, which is also crazy. And they'll be favored again by 10. And this time they'll probably kill them. But the Rams might be the best team in the league, and they're going to be on the road and start the playoffs.
Yeah, that is pretty insane. Who do you have in your top 3? Because obviously the Rams and Bills. So I'm trying to figure out who the number 3 team is.
My number 3 team right now, and I don't like them, but I'm not willing to lower them yet because I'm afraid of them, is the Eagles.
Okay. I'm 4, so I get it.
3?
I have Seahawks 3.
Okay, so I have the Eagles ahead of Seattle, and if that game's in Philly, I love Philly. If that game's in Seattle, I could get behind Seattle in that game. I mean, Seattle would be favored in Seattle for sure. Mm-hmm. But if you saw Sam Darnold coming to Philadelphia in a playoff game, because Seattle could be the 6th seed and go to Philly in the first round, you and I are not taking Darnold in that game. There's no way.
No way.
There's no way. The Eagles have to be favored in that game by at least a field goal.
Yeah.
Which means they're better than Seattle.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
I don't know what to do with 5, 6, 7, and 8 because I'm all over the place with these teams. I think 5. I have the Pats at 5. The Pats could easily be 9.
I have the Patriots at let's see, at 7.
Okay. Yeah, none of these teams are on the level of your Group A needs to consist of 2 teams, Rams and Bills. That's it.
I have the Seahawks there too. But
they don't belong in the same group as Rams and Bills.
Yeah, I get it.
There's just a cutoff at that point. Yeah. Those 2 teams are far and away. I would, at this point, if you asked me, like, let's make a Super Bowl right now, Rams Bills is your best Super Bowl by a mile. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, for some reason, because of matchups and just seeding, you're probably not getting that Super Bowl, and that is the best game.
Well, I'm rooting for it because I have all those exactas with those 2 teams. So that would be pretty amazing. I have the Jaguars at 5, personally. I think they're playing a lot better now. Jacoby Myers has really helped the offense. The defense has improved a lot in the past few weeks. Lawrence is playing his best football.
I'm not ready to go that high with Jacksonville.
I mean, who else is there, though? If Houston 6, New England 7, Detroit 8.
I think Houston is better than Jacksonville. I think the Ravens are better than Jacksonville. I think the Lions are better than Jacksonville.
I can't go there with the Lions.
Okay.
They can't beat great teams. I don't know. Maybe
we'll get to Jacksonville when we get to Jacksonville, but I'm not ready to put. I have Jacksonville at number 12. I'm not ready to trust Jacksonville yet.
Everyone's gonna be wondering about the Broncos, as Horse is asking here, and people are yelling at me in my power rankings comments about the Broncos.
Where do you have the Broncos?
10.
I have the Broncos 10 also.
There you go.
Okay.
That's funny. Yeah, no one likes my rankings of the Broncos. Everyone's like, that's too low, too low.
Listen, the Broncos are favored by 3 points this week, and that's pretty much exactly where it should be, based on my rankings at least. I have the Broncos slightly ahead of Jacksonville, and then you're throwing out. Denver has a real home field, which is 2. Nobody gets more than 2 points for me at home field.
That's fair.
I mean, unless you're like the Eagles against the Lions, and we know the Lions can't play in cold weather, so then the home field matters a lot more. Right. But all things being equal, Denver has a real home field. They're favored by 3 points, which means Vegas has them slightly better than the Jaguars. And we'll get to that game. I think we should start going through it because we're 30 minutes in. Yeah. I hope that we gave people a lesson on live betting because there are real opportunities. Even if you don't want to sit with a computer and a spreadsheet, you don't have to. Open up your phone at halftime, spend 5 minutes, and have some fun.
Yeah.
A game like tonight, you clean up. And there's a lot of games every week that you can make money. And it doesn't start with guessing because this game, let's be fair, the Rams opened in this game -1, and the Seattle closed -2.5. Mm-hmm. So if you're really, really, really sharp, and you get on the Rams, and you get on Seattle early, +1, +1.5. Imagine you get +1.5, and you're sitting pretty on that 2-point conversion, and you just like, you know what, I like the Rams. At the end of the day, I'm going to get the Rams +1.5 also. You can't lose if you handicap the game correctly with line movement.
Yeah,
but it's a coin flip game. So how much you going crazy on this game? I mean, I know people who are very, very high on both sides, and I just kind of sat back and said, "Yeah, good luck." I mean, I don't know who's going to win. I like Seattle. The Rams are a better team. I like the Seahawks. I'm not betting it. I'll let you know what I'm doing at halftime.
Right. Kevin Kovac, another $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Kevin. Is there a hedge opportunity while laddering? Can you go into
100%? 100%. I thought about it tonight because I needed the 600, and Darnold had 208. And his over-under was 248, I believe. So I needed 50 yards for the 600 on a plus. What was my 600 there? Plus 1,300. Mm-hmm. I didn't do it because I was already up for the game, so I don't really care. And it was a $50 bet. But theoretically, let's say that was a $100 bet for 1,300. I could have played Darnold under 250 yards. Stafford had exactly 350. I could have played Darnold at that point under 250, meaning if he got over, I get my 600 combo. But I could have played a 2-unit bet or a 3-unit bet on, because I have plus 1,300 one way. I could play the under back for 3 or 4 units and middle, right? We're not middle. You win one, you lose one. Puka, for example, you could hedge these by going under if you find a receiver that's really getting ahead of the stats early. I think I told you this. Stafford, we were at 265. After the first drive, he was up to 283. And after the second drive, he was at 310. So his yards at that point, his total was like 323, and I am sitting on a 325 at plus 750. I could play under 325 and, again, cover the loss, either cover or guarantee a profit. So there's always hedge opportunities when you're laddering, and that's part of the reason to take these. And that's part of the reason to take some of the futures bets that I play all the time or recommend all the time, because you're going in knowing that you have good propositions. I cut it out. It's on that spreadsheet. I've said multiple times my no playoff bets. I have massive liability on Carolina not making the playoffs. This week, I finally hedged it. I now played Carolina plus 310. Of course, I got a bad number. Carolina is now plus 350 to make the playoffs, but I'm guaranteeing myself a profit. I'm playing the Carolina yes to make the playoffs because they are the only team that I need in multiple bets, multiple futures, which I took throughout the season, not just preseason, but throughout the season on teams not to make the playoffs. Carolina is my one liability. Now I have no liability. So I love the idea of using equity to hedge and guaranteeing profits. Don't cash out, but you can play small amounts back to guarantee profits or sometimes get lucky and win both.
Yeah, it's you can get creative with it. It's pretty incredible stuff. So congrats on your amazing night, 6K.
Yeah, now we move on. 60 units, now we move on.
Yeah, you win $6K. None of these bets were more than $115. That's
Exactly.
really amazing. That's amazing. So, congratulations! Congratulations to those who followed on Twitter. I personally did not win as much, but it still was a great night. So let's get to the games. Like you said, we're a half hour in already, and
We'll try to be quick with some of these.
some of these we can be quick. Given that there are 2 Saturday games, I think we can pull up the injury reports because they are complete for these games. Well, of course, the Redskins do not post injury reports on NFL.com or the team websites. They just don't do it. It's the most aggravating thing. You always have to go to Twitter and find the beat reporter. They're the only team that never does it. So the Eagles are favored by 7 in the contest. It is lower than that, 6.5. So let's look at the injury report. So, of course, Jalen Carter's out and Lane Johnson's out. That was expected. Fred Johnson is active. He was DMP. He's the backup for Lane Johnson, so he's available. So it's not like they have stacked injuries at right tackle. But anyway, nothing crazy here on the injury report. I like the Eagles here, especially given that we're getting 6.5 in the contest instead of 7 in real life. I still like the 7 though. You have Marcus Mariota, backup quarterback, against a great defense. I don't like backup quarterbacks against elite defenses. They tend to really struggle, and I think the Eagles will be up for this game. They have clinching opportunities. Whenever you have a good team with clinching opportunities, obviously they're a good team. They have clinching opportunities. They're going to be up for it. So I think the Eagles, they kind of like, they got back on track last week against the Raiders, absolute domination with their defense. And it's kind of a similar spot with their defense. And then offensively, they should be able to score. Washington has the 31st ranked defense in the NFL. They have the slowest linebackers in the league. Bobby Wagner somehow like the leader in Pro Bowl voting. It's like, I think they're trolling. Anyway, I like the Eagles here quite a bit. What do you think?
Most of the games this week I don't like at all, and this is one of them. You say the key word is should. The Eagles should. The Eagles are my number 3 team in the league, as I just mentioned. They should be able to be up for this game. However, if you look back at the Eagles-Redskins matchups, there's a number of times where they've not shown up to this divisional game. I remember a couple of years ago, I think the Eagles were favored by 10 or 11 points, lost outright. Mm-hmm. So the Eagles, coming off of a shutout win, they dominated. That game was over before it started. I think they outgained the Raiders by almost 400 yards or 300 yards, something crazy. I think the Raiders had maybe 75 yards of offense the entire game. I think 75 stands out to me. On paper, it's an easy matchup for the Eagles. But this is really the first time, Washington hasn't been home much. The last time they were home, I think there's only one home game in the last 4 or 5 weeks. And that was the game against Denver where they lost in overtime by 1 point. So I think it's somewhat of a letdown spot for the Eagles off of a shutout win. For some reason, I think this game is going to be close. I made this game a touchdown game, so I'm looking at the line at 6.5. Can I get behind the Eagles? Maybe at 6.5. I think this line moved to 7 already. If you told me this line was 7, I'm looking at the updated numbers. The contest line is 6.5. There's a little bit of value. The updated line is 7. If you told me this line was 7 and I were betting into a 7 market, I'm on the dog plus 7. I don't want to take the Eagles to have to win by more than a touchdown. Now here, they don't have to win by more than a touchdown. They just have to win by a touchdown. I don't think the Eagles playing the Bills next week means anything right now. I don't think they're necessarily looking forwards because it is a divisional game. It's also a standalone Saturday game, so there might be a little bit more of an urgency for them, although the last time they had a standalone non-Sunday game was a Friday Thanksgiving and knocked me out of Survivor. The Eagles are just not a team that I trust right now laying points. I could see this game being 26-10. I could see this game being 26-20. So from a contest perspective, you're getting 6.5, maybe a little bit of value. I don't love it.
I think it'll be in my card. You mentioned the letdowns they've had against the Redskins, and generally they've had some of them. But in those games, if you kind of like dissect when they've had those letdowns, they're always like the second game. They always crush the Redskins in the first game, and then they always let down in the second game. Like, I guess it's because they already beat them. They're like, all right, we can win easily, you know. You remember last year, like they lost to the Redskins the second time. The first time they beat them like easily on Thursday Night Football, which another standalone game. So, and that was with Jaden Daniels. So I just think that Mariota is just really behind the 8 ball in this matchup, kind of like another former Eagle backup quarterback. Now Mariota is definitely better than Pickett, but I just think that the talent discrepancy in this game is just way too wide. So I will be on the Eagles, but it's okay. We can
I would
post them.
also tell you, be careful. We talk about ladders. I'll try to give you like one piece of advice in every game if I see it. I would not go for Barkley over late if the Eagles have a big lead. If you saw last week, Tank Bigsby had 17 carries.
Yeah.
So if the script is team is up by a lot, it's not Barkley who's getting those fourth quarter carries.
Yeah, maybe ladder Bigsby.
Maybe ladder Bigsby. There you go. So that's a game situation where you see the team is up by multiple scores. They're running the ball. Tank Bigsby's line going in is going to be a small one. But if he's the guy who's getting the usage in the fourth quarter, there's value on Tank Bigsby if he is indeed in that game in that script. Mm-hmm. So, again, another thing to look out for as you watch some of the games live.
Yeah, it's tough to bet Barkley either way. He's just been so underwhelming this year.
He's hit or miss, right?
It's been the
block. If he breaks the 50-yarder, you win. If he doesn't, you're not going to win.
Right. It's the blocking, really. I mean, it's not like he became a bum overnight. It's he's getting hit in the backfield all the time. He's second worst in the NFL in terms of yards before contact. He has to evade guys in the backfield. It's just not working for him. All right, let's get to the next game, which is Packers at the Bears. The Bears are 1.5-point favorites. On the look ahead, they were underdogs, but of course, there are circumstances that have changed in this game as we pull out the injury report. And of course, Packers and Bears both have their reports here. Thanks, Washington. So the Packers have they're like half the roster is questionable. This is such a mess. Josh Jacobs did not practice at all this week. He's questionable. Jaden Reed, we mentioned him yesterday as someone who had a DNP for a personal matter. I thought maybe, unfortunately, like maybe a death in the family, but he was full today, so he doesn't have a tag. Zach Tom did not practice this week. He's questionable. I would not expect him to play. Christian Watson returned for 2 limited practices. We don't know if he's healthy. He's questionable. And then a couple other guys. So, like I said, they have a lot of questionable players here, and obviously Michael Parsons out for the year. For the Bears, Luther Burden, that's the big Roman Dudes. That's the big one. He's out. Luther Burden's out as well. But the Bears have a lot of receivers, and tight ends. So I'm not too worried about that. So I am going to be on the Bears here. I feel like the injuries for the Packers is way too much. I think I would have liked them before the Parsons injury and the Watson injury and Tom injury. That really wrecked them against the Broncos. Like they were ahead for most of the game, and then they lost those 3 guys like within a span of 5 minutes, and it was just way too much to overcome. Especially Parsons. Like he changes that whole defense because remember heading into the year, we're like, I don't know about you, but I was like, oh, Packers maybe make the playoffs. They could be okay. And then suddenly they're 9-3-1 because Parsons is unbelievable. And now they lose him and they're back to square one. This defense is going to be taking a huge hit. Watson says he's playing. Yeah, but at what capacity though, you know?
He'll take one hit and he'll be out.
Right, exactly. Like that's what happens with him, of course. So Watson, you can't trust him to stay healthy. That offense without Kraft and Watson is just so much different. And the Bears are playing better. They had some sketchy wins at the beginning of the year, but their offensive line has improved a lot. Caleb Williams has gotten a little bit better. He's still like hit or miss sometimes. The defense has gotten a lot of players back from injury. There's like at one point they were missing their top 3 corners, the top safety, and their top 3 linebackers. And all those guys are back now. So I'm on the Bears here. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, so this is a good game here. So obviously Bears are off a very easy win. Again, +3 in turnovers. They're doing great in the turnover game all season. They dominated the yardage against Shador. Can't really take much away from it. Green Bay was not good in their game. Love, again, he throws the ball off his back foot time and time again. He is a quarterback that I've said so many times I'm not afraid of in a big game. I think he averages about 225 yards passing per game. He relies on guys. He chucks the ball up. He relies on guys like Watson or Kraft. Both of them are either out or hurt. So I'm not impressed with Green Bay. I believe exactly what you said before the Parsons trade mid preseason. I was not high on this team. I thought the hype for this team was overrated. I thought the same thing last year. Everyone talks about them as an up-and-coming team. Love is the next great quarterback. I've never bought into that. Parsons trade changed everything, and now we changed right back. Kraft being out and Watson being hurt brings them down a notch as well. And I went back and I watched, again, that first game. Now, Green Bay really dominated that first game in the stats. They won the yardage 6.5 to 4.6 yards per play. I'm very big on the yards per play. A lot of that was Caleb being very, very inaccurate, and he continues to be inaccurate. But one of the things that he continues to do very well is escape pressure and make plays with his legs. And the offensive line is really good. And we thought that going into the season, and all they've done is get better and better as they grow with continuity throughout the season. So there are two truths with the Bears, because we've said all season that this is a very overrated team. They barely beat the Raiders. They should have lost to Washington. There was a botched handoff in the rain. They should have lost to the Giants. There are a number of games that they should have lost. So they're not as good as their record. We know that. Mm-hmm. But they are a team that's improving dramatically. And we figured throughout the season and from the beginning of the season that with the offensive line continuity, with the new coaching staff and Caleb getting better, that this was a team that's on the rise. I thought the Bears should have been favored going into this week. I'm not surprised, obviously, that it flipped. The look ahead, the opener, by the way, was Packers -2. That was the opener, not the look ahead. The look ahead was Packers -3. Right. The opener this week, even after the injuries, was Packers -2. And now the line has flipped to Bears being favored. From a contest perspective, we're looking at Pick'em. I would have made the Bears favored right after those games on Sunday when I make my lines. I said Bears should be favored in this game. I like the Bears to win. And I like the Bears to win. Home game, I think this is where the Bears kind of prove that they are ready to belong in the playoffs, because they're not the same team that should have lost to the Raiders, Giants, and Redskins earlier in the season. And by the way, they also got blown up by Huntley with the Ravens. If you remember that game, Lamar was supposed to come back. Lamar ended up not coming back, and it was Huntley, and they still lost. This is a much better Bears team than that team, and the Packers arrowed down. So I like the Bears here to come out and win the game. I think the Bears are the better team. Maybe they're not the better team. At worst, they're equal.
Yeah.
But I think arrow up one team, arrow down the other. The Bears are probably one of 2, maybe 3 games that I actually like this week. So the Bears should be on our card.
Okay. Yeah, they're going to be on my card too, probably. Glad we agree on that one. You're totally right. Like, the Bears were so lucky to win so many games early in the season, but now with their improved health defensively and their better continuity on offense, they've just improved a lot. So they're a much better team than they were earlier. Not gonna lie, I thought it was game when Puka made that deep catch in overtime. Yeah, it certainly seemed that way. Yeah, for sure. I thought it was over too. Looked like Puka thought it was over too. Like, he started jogging the end zone.
It was over. Stafford got his 400. It was over.
That's right. That's exactly right. All right, let's get to the Sunday games. The Bills at the Browns. The Bills are favored by 10.5 here in the contest. The Bills are also 10.5 in the circa, 10 in the super contest. So I think matchup. Well, hold on, not matchup, but a spot is pretty terrible for the Bills. They just beat the Patriots in a comeback mode. They were down 21-0, and they won. And they just dominated the second half. And they had a great comeback. After this game, they play the Eagles. So, who are they to like? Who are the Browns like? To them, like, I don't know why they would care about this Browns game. And then, matchup wise, this might seem like a just lopsided affair because the Bills are 10-4, the Browns 3-11, but the Browns defend mobile quarterbacks really well. They're 4th best in allowing in preventing rushing yards to mobile quarterbacks. In the 2 games against Lamar Jackson, I know Lamar was hurt for one of them, but in the other game, Lamar Jackson ran for 10 rushing yards. In the one where he's hurt, he ran for 13 rushing yards. So they and you can kind of understand that because they're in the same division as Lamar Jackson. Like, they built their defense around being able to stop mobile quarterbacks. And so this is a game where I don't think Josh Allen is going to run very much because the Browns just don't allow rushing yards to anyone, to any quarterback, I should say. And you have that. And then the Browns, they have a talented running back, Quinshon Judkins, and their offensive line will be healthier this week. They're getting some guys back potentially. We don't have their final injury report yet, but like some of the guys who were out last week are like limited so far, so they have a chance to come back. So I suspect that they're going to be able to run on the Bills because the Bills can't stop the run. And I just think this is going to be a close game. This is a high line, and I feel like the Bills are going to be flat, and the Browns should be able to limit a bit of what Buffalo does and keep this game close. So I like the Browns here. What do you think?
Well, I don't like the game, but I don't like the Browns. So I was stuck on the Browns last week, lost. I was on the Browns the week before and lost. On the Browns the week before that. So I'm done with the Browns. The Bills. Now I don't know the exact statistics, but I heard this week from a couple of different podcasts that I listened to that Josh Allen against top defenses actually does very well against the spread. And Josh Allen after Patriots games also pretty good. Now, I don't care about trends, but just throwing those two nuggets out there, I didn't even write down what the numbers were, but they were well above 500 ATS. So to me, there's no look ahead. I don't think the Buffalo's looking ahead to Philly. It's not really a rivalry. It's not like they're playing the Chiefs or the Ravens next or the Bengals next. They're not playing a divisional game next. I think they're just going to come out here and dominate defensively. There might be weather in this game. I don't see the Browns scoring more than 10 points. Now, you mentioned the running game. There was no threat to the pass. So I think here, Shador holds the ball way too long. I'm watching that game last week, even on 4th down in the red zone. He took a sack. He took a sack on a 3rd down. Guy's holding the ball 5 seconds, 7 seconds. Can't hold the ball that long in the NFL. He's going to take hits. He's going to take sacks. He's not going to move the ball down the field. He's had decent games. He played very well against Tennessee, even though they lost. But I don't expect him to play well in this game, especially in a weather game. Defensively, I don't worry about the Bills scoring against the Browns defense. It's not like this is a defense that, they're not that great, right? And also, defenses sometimes are a product of your offense. If you can't maintain possession of the football and you can't win the field position, Buffalo will get their points. Now, I don't think Buffalo needs to get 35 points to cover this big line. I think Buffalo needs 27 points, maybe even 24 points to cover this line. Can't you see this game being like the Panthers game that Buffalo won on the road 40-9? I don't think they'll score 40, but they can win 27-9. When San Francisco went to Cleveland, they also won, I think it was like 26-8 or something like that. Buffalo went to Pittsburgh, won 27, was it 27-9, 27-6, something in that ballpark. I could see this game being a relatively low-scoring game, so I don't like the over, but I think Buffalo, even in a lower-scoring game, will win and cover. I think they're going to win the game by at least 10 to 13 points. Would I be surprised if they won by 17 to 20 points? Absolutely not. But to ask the Browns to cover, this is the me from last week or the last month saying, yeah, Browns 10 and a half, give it to me. Learned my lesson a couple of times, not going to do it. Obviously, the Browns injury report matters too. I think Shador will take sacks. I don't think there's a threat of the deep ball, so I think they're going to play close to the line of scrimmage, and I just don't see anybody right now, unless the Bills have been the worst team in the league in the first half, or one of the worst teams in the league in the first half. Unless they just come out of sleep and we wonder what is going on with this team right now, like last week. But even if they go down 10-0, 14-3, something like that early, Allen could turn it on with the snap of a finger. I don't trust Shador to keep up. I wouldn't bet this game, but I'm on the Bills.
Okay, I've not had the negative experiences with the Browns. I haven't been on them. I can't even remember the last time I was on the Browns. But it's I think it's been a while.
I'm on the Browns like every week.
Well, I think this is the week. I think this is the week to take them. Like I really believe this is a bad spot for the Bills. Like even if you don't think they're going to look ahead to the Eagles, which it's the defending Super Bowl champion, I feel like there's a chance they do. But they're at least going to be looking behind with their comeback win against the Patriots. I really don't see them coming out 100% in this game.
Fair enough. Not a game I'm in.
Motivation is the hardest thing to handicap, I think. So,
and the motivation this week across the board is going to be very hard to handicap. There's so many games where you're questioning: is this team going to show up? Is this team going to try? But for me, with the Browns, I believe the Bills are energized by that win last week. I think if they lost last week and the division were like 100% over, maybe there's somewhat of a mental, we didn't get the division. All right, we're still in the playoffs. Don't worry, we're playing the Browns. Who cares? Mm-hmm. Now I think they know that if they win this game, they're essentially tied with New England in the win column until New England plays Baltimore Sunday Night Football. So I think there's a lot of motivation for them to try to win and put pressure on New England to keep winning as well. I think New England's going to win the division because they play Miami and the Jets the next 2 weeks. But I think Buffalo wants to go in here and win this game. I don't see why there would be a letdown because of they just came off a win. I think the letdown would be simply because they're playing a bad football team. But Buffalo historically has been a bully against bad teams. And for me, more so in this game, it's really just about Shador. I don't trust Shador keeping up with Josh Allen. So if I get to 24 points for Buffalo, which I think I will, I don't know what their team total is. What's the over-under in this game? 31.5.
Okay, yeah.
So you're looking at 24.5 to 14.5, something in that ballpark. Andy, am I right on that? If Andy's listening, somewhere in 24.5 for Buffalo. So if I get 24 points from Buffalo, I think they can win this game 24-13.
maybe motivation is the wrong word, but I think like sense of urgency because like they're like you said they're playing a bad team. Like what if I'm a Bills player, I'm like we just had a great comeback. We'll beat the Browns. That's my mindset. And like, and who do we have next? Oh, Eagles. Okay, yeah, we'll be fine here. And then Eagles is the tough one. Like
If
that.
I'm a Bills player, I'm 10-4, and I say Patriots have 11 wins. Let's get to 11 wins. That's what I'm thinking.
I know, but then again, we're not. We haven't endured 4 months of getting hit over and over again, and we're not like we're not like.
I wouldn't lay 10.5 with Buffalo on a bet. I'm not interested in, but I wouldn't on a teaser. I wouldn't even want Cleveland plus 17.5. I have no interest. I had that last week. I got burned with that last week when they lost 31-3 because Shador keeps throwing picks in the red zone. We're taking sacks on 4th down in the red zone. Throw the ball up. You can't take a sack.
They had so many injuries. The Browns, though, they had so many injuries.
They have so many. They still have injuries.
Yeah, but the injury report looks better right now than it did last week. How do you think the Bills have done as road favorites under Josh Allen? I just looked this up. I had no idea before I looked it up. Sorry, not road favorites. Double-digit road favorites on the Josh Allen.
How many? What's my sample size?
5 games.
5 games. That doesn't. Yeah. 2 and 3.
They're 1-4 against the spread. 3-2 straight up, by the way. So it's kind of crazy that they lost 2 of these games. 3 of those 5 games against the Jets. It's funny enough. In those Jets games, they actually are 0-3. The one game, 1-2. The one game they covered was in 2021 Week 10 against the Jets. They won 45-17.
Yeah, the Bills have hurt me a couple times against the Jets or Dolphins. Mm-hmm. Some of those big spread games.
Yeah, and you'll remember one of these games.
Was one of the games like 18-16?
18-10.
18-10. A lot of field goals.
Yeah. The one you might remember where they lost outright. There were 14.5-point favorites at Jacksonville. They lost 9-6. So they I don't know. I
don't get some of those games. Listen, I'm not disputing the fact that they might not show up to beat a bad team, but I'm sick and tired of betting the Browns, and I'm not going to trust Shador at this point in the season.
All right, fair enough. They might be in my card. I don't know. It does take a little bit of courage to take the Browns, but then again, the Bills, I just don't trust them to be 100% in this game. But anyway, we can move on to the next one, which is Jets at the Saints. This line has skyrocketed. I assume there was some news on the quarterback situation for the
Brady
Jets.
Cook starting.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, Tyler Taylor was limited today, and so was Justin Fields.
It was announced yesterday.
It was announced yesterday. Right?
Yep.
Really? Because on the show,
Rich Kimini, Jets beat writer Rich Kimini announced yesterday Brady Cook starting. That's why the line moved yesterday. Moved yesterday from 4.5 to 5.5, and now it's up to 6.
That's weird because when Andy and I did the show yesterday, we were showing 4.5.
Matter of fact, right now it's 6.5 at Circa.
Wow. All right. Well, that's all I need to hear.
Brady. If you look at Rich Cimini Twitter. Mm-hmm. Probably the number one Jets beat writer. He announced yesterday that he was going to start.
All right. Well, that's kind of weird that the line didn't move yesterday because we when Andy and I were talking, we showed the line 4.5 everywhere, and we were like, okay, what do we do here? We don't know the quarterback situation. Well, I guess we do now, and it's Brady Cook, and that's all I need to hear. Brady Cook is not a real NFL quarterback. He's not a Marcus Mariota, Jacoby Brissett. Like he's more Max Brosmer than those guys. Now he can move around a little bit. He's an athletic guy. He has a 37-inch vertical. He ran the 4.6. So maybe he can like scramble around a little bit and get some first downs and get a couple scores here and maybe cover the spread at the end. Like the Saints are not a team I really trust to cover a high line like this. They don't score enough. I know Tyler Shuck's been playing a lot better recently, but I still don't really trust them all that much, especially with the kind of like diminished skill position group that he has. It's Chris Olave, but even like the number 2 receivers, Devon Vele might be out. And then and the running backs, Alvin Kamara, who has not been practicing. He used double DMP once again. So like there's no Kamara, there's no Devon Vele in all likelihood. Cesar Ruiz, one of the linemen, he's going to be out. I really don't trust I don't trust the Saints to score a lot and to cover the spread. But if I had to choose a side, I think I'd still take the Saints because I can't go with Brady Cook, just given how bad he is. So I don't know if you like this game. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I like the Saints a lot, and
Yeah.
I made this line 7 before I wrote down the Jets with Brady Cook starting are the worst team in football by at least 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
Neutral field Titans Jets. I would make Titans -3 neutral field today with Brady Cook starting. That's simply a non-competitive football team. Last week they were outgained 7.4 to 4.2. That means every time a snap took place, the Jets were -3 yards or 3.2 yards on those plays. That's outrageous. Now Lawrence was great. The Jets defense is absolutely non-existent. They fired their DC. Like that was the problem, right? Steve Wilkes, all of a sudden, he wasn't any good to begin with, but now that's the problem. That's the scapegoat at this time of the year, where you come out and you fire your DC. And they just gave up a 50 burger to the Jaguars, who are playing a heck of a lot better now than they were. But at the end of the day, they gave up 48 points last week to the Jags. Now, Cook was having fun. He threw some touchdown passes. His parents were very excited for him, but he also threw 3 picks. That's just not a competitive football team. I don't care who's missing for the Saints. That team is playing hard. Shuck's playing better, not playing great. He's playing better. Whoever he's throwing the ball to, whether it's Olave or anybody else, the Saints are playing hard. They're competing. Therefore, I'd be on the Saints. I made the line 7, 6.5. I think I would take it 6.5. Anything under. Our contest line is 5.5. I would absolutely play it at 5.5. And I'm looking now across the board. Right now, I'm seeing 6.5 at Circa, 6 at the Westgate, 6 at Caesars. Pretty much 5.5 to 6.5 across the board. I think 5.5. I want to say a gift. Is it a gift? No. You can't really trust a team that's not used to being a favorite. But there's not a lot of games that I like this week. And if I have a chance to bet against the Jets on the road with anything under a touchdown, sign me up.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We do get a favorable number with the Saints here, especially in the Super Contest, which is 4.5. Yep. Not that 5 is
right. Exactly.
Yeah. But
not a huge difference between 4.5 and 5.5 or 6, but definitely a little bit of value. By the way, if I were still alive in Survivor, because originally we had planned Kansas City for this week.
Yeah. So much for that.
I would absolutely take the Saints in Survivor.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have a lot of options, but they would be the last team that I had from a spread perspective. That would be the highest spread I had for a favorite. So it would be a no-brainer. There wouldn't be another choice for me to play.
Yeah. I have to
figure out playing a 2.5 point spread, which I wouldn't like at all. So I would be very comfortable going against the Jets in Survivor.
I have to figure out what I'm doing with my DraftKings Survivor entries. Those extremely important $10 entries that are now worth $120. I don't know. We didn't have to pick the Christmas or Thanksgiving games, so I didn't have to save any teams. How about
next year you'll save up? We'll be in the Grandissimo.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, right. My wife, if she better not hear about that, or I'll find stuff on my front lawn.
Andy, sign us up for the Grandissimo, please.
What the Raiders?
We would have won this year. We lost on Thanksgiving with everybody else.
That's true.
Entry number 1 of all the entries I had. Entry number 1 lost on Thanksgiving.
That's true. Yeah. Everyone lost then. Yeah. Not even the games after Thanksgiving, like right on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I'm with Evan. I have double-digit Saints. Okay.
I had the Saints winning by 10 plus.
I could see it. I could see this. Saints have a good defense.
Yeah.
The defense is 10th. It's 10th in the end of an EPA. It's Andy. I know Andy loves the EPA stat. The Saints are 10th in that. I don't know what yards per play says, but they are ranked well in that category. All right, let's get to the next game, which is Vikings at the Giants. The Vikings are favored by 3. This is another bad spot, I think. Vikings coming off an upset win. We had the Vikings, as you mentioned earlier, last week. The Vikings coming off an upset win against Dallas on national TV. Now they have to play against the stupid Giants team that I'm sure they have no feelings about. And they're 3-point favorites on the road. I really don't like the spot for Minnesota, but obviously the matchup favors them. The Giants are now the 32nd worst, or second, they're the 32nd in defense. They were 31st last week. They moved down to 32nd. Washington moved up 31st because Washington beat them to look better. So the Giants can't stop anything, and JJ McCarthy has played a lot better against these horrible defenses. And that game could have been like an even bigger margin if Justin Jefferson then dropped that one touchdown pass. And I think there were another touchdown was wiped out by penalty or something. So Minnesota looks good from a matchup perspective, offensively and defensively. You have Jackson Dart against the Brian Flores' blitz. Jackson Dart, when pressured, is so much worse when he kept clean. He's kept clean. His completion percentage drops like 30% or something like that. So, so this is like a clash between matchup and spot. I really don't like it. If I had to make a play in this game, I think I'd take the Vikings, but I'm going to pass on this one. What do you think?
I'm kind of torn on the game because I make the line 1.5, but I kind of like the Vikings. But when I see a 3 and my power rating says 1.5, I kind of get thrown off a little bit. Giants are off the loss. They moved the ball, but they had a bunch of turnovers. They were poor on third downs. They were poor on special teams. They got a punt return for a touchdown. Just not a team that I trust, especially defensively. We were spot on with Minnesota last couple of weeks. We said, listen, JJ McCarthy is not any good. At best, he's an inconsistent quarterback, so he shows some flashes. But when he plays against these bad defenses, he can move the ball. It's not like he's horrendous the entire game. So last week, he was inaccurate again. Like, he's missing JJ. He's missing Justin Jefferson, JJ, on wide open throws. There's some wide open throws. He just can't hit them. Third downs, they're 2 for 9 on third down. But then they go for fourth down and they're 3 for 3. And a couple of those fourth down conversions are really nice back shoulder throws. So, it's like, what is it? He's just inconsistent. But in this game, he'll be inconsistent. If they have 12 drives, he might score 3 or 4 touchdowns, or 3 touchdowns and maybe 2 field goals. So I can see the Vikings putting up 27 to 30 points in this game. The Giants, they put up 34 points last week. Why can't they put up 27 to 30 points this week? So I like the Vikings. I don't know that I want to lay it at -3. Super Contest 2.5, I would have probably considered it more at 2.5 than I would at 3. It's probably a pass. I could get behind it. I'm concerned about their offensive line. Darisaw seems to be in and out of the lineup. So I'm not 100% sure that I want to play laying 3 without an offensive line against the Giants' defensive front. I also like Flores this week against Dart, because rookies against Flores sometimes becomes a problem. So I lean to the Vikings. The 3 kind of pushes me away a little bit. I definitely wouldn't be on the Giants this week.
Andy says hit 6,000 every few days and you can enter their Grandissimo. You need 16 more of those and then you can do it.
Hey, we got a lot of standalone games coming up.
That's true.
Every single one of those games can go to overtime and be 60 plus points.
Oh man,
we'll have our 100,000 Andy by I don't know what, by the championship game.
Yep, there it is. Dart has played 11 games, has been check concussions 5 of them. He can't.
This is a problem. The only thing is, though, if he comes out, Jameis is just fine, right? Jameis will be fine against. Jameis will throw 3 touchdowns and 2 picks against the Flores defense.
Yep. I wish you were starting. I'd go in best ball in DraftKings. I'd go Jameis, and I played the defense against Jameis. So it would be wonderful. All right. Next game is Buccaneers at the Panthers. This might be for the NFC South title. Buccaneers are favored by 3. So no real injuries here outside of Ike Ekwonu for the Panthers, DNP twice. So no real concern there. I don't know what to make this game because we don't know Baker Mayfield's status. Like, he's been really banged up the past few weeks. He's just not been himself, but he's had a mini bye to maybe get healthier. We just don't know his status. So like, if Baker Mayfield can get healthy after those 9 days off, then I would like Tampa here because Carolina is just not a real team. Like you sent me a text earlier today. Like, the Panthers they're not 7-7. They're 4-10, which is absolutely true. Like they played like a 4-10 team. They've gotten so so lucky in so many games this year, and they got swept by the Saints. So that is it's not a good thing to be on the resume. In fact, I think if you get swept by the Saints, you should not be in the playoffs automatically. So I want to take Tampa, but then I don't know. Like I don't want to back an injured Mayfield either. Like I just don't trust Tampa. Although Mike Evans being back certainly helps matters. So if I had to pick a side here, it would be the Bucks. But what do you think about this game?
This is a hard game. This is kind of similar to my Vikings approach, where I make the line 1.5, despite the fact that I think Carolina is awful. Tampa has been horrible lately. I mean, they blew that game last week. They're terrible against Kirk Cousins. So maybe it's just Kirk Cousins kind of owns the Bucks. But they're up 14 points with a couple of minutes left in that game and somehow find a way to lose that game. They allowed Atlanta to convert 3rd and 28, 4th and 14. The defense was really bad. Baker threw an awful pick. They got blown out in the yards per play by 1.7 yards per play. They gave up almost over 7 yards per play, and almost 400 passing yards to Cousins. Let's hope Cousins puts up 400 passing yards next week against Stafford, and we're in business. Oh, yeah. But I mean, this game, it's not even for the division. This game, because the Bucks really just need to win one out of the 2 games against Carolina. As long as they each win or each lose next week, the game for the division is week 18. So Carolina goes into this game like, hey, they need to win. The Bucks go into this game with a mindset of, yeah, we want to win this game, but just in case, we're not out if we lose. And that kind of scares me a little bit from laying 3 points. I don't really want to lay 3 points. I told you I have liability. Well, no more liability, but I have bets on Panthers not to make the playoffs, which I just now decided to hedge. I was thinking of playing Carolina in this week as a hedge +3, and then remembered theoretically it's not a done deal. Whoever wins this game, it's still not a done deal. Even if Tampa wins, because they have to win 1 out of 2, they theoretically can lose their last 2. Carolina can win their last 2, which includes the Seattle game. Oh, I hate Seattle next week now off of that win. Yeah, and we'll talk about that maybe later when we look at some look-ahead lines. This is just a tough game to handicap at -3. I want to believe that Tampa will go in there and take care of business. Just can't trust them.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, yeah, we can pass on this one. Kevin Kovac, the $5 super chat. Thanks, Kevin. He says, fire Todd Bowles, please. Save us, future Falcons head coach Todd Bowles. I know it's happening, too. We know it's happening. I don't understand what the Falcons doing at all. I
was looking at last year. You talk about inconsistencies with Baker. They played 2 games last year. The game in Tampa, he threw 5 touchdown passes.
Yep. The
game in Carolina, he threw 1 with 2 picks. So which Baker shows up? I mean, yeah, he's definitely banged up, but he's had some bad picks, hurt or not. He's in the game. The picks are bad decisions, not bad because your arm is hurting.
Yeah, the 5 touchdown game was the Panthers had the flu. That was a flu game for the Panthers. But I think the game where he played poorly, it was like a 0 effort game for Tampa. It looked like they just weren't showing up. Carolina played a string of games last year where their superior opponents didn't show up. There's the Eagles game, which they almost lost, and then there's the Chiefs game, which they also almost lost, and then that Buccaneers game, which if Chuba Hubbard doesn't fumble in overtime, the Panthers won that game. So. Yeah, so no one played hard against the Panthers until the Buccaneers had that rematch, and Carolina had the flu. So that was wild times last year for the Panthers. All right, next game is Chiefs at the Titans. The Chiefs are favored by 3 on the road here. Imagine telling someone a week ago that the Chiefs would be favored by 3 in Tennessee. You'd be like, you'd be deemed a crazy person, taken to the mental ward. But no, Patrick Mahomes is out, and not only that, Rashee Rice is going to be out with a concussion. Tyquan Thornton's going to be out. Also, so this is a Chiefs team that couldn't score with Mahomes, and now they have Gardner Minshew throwing to Travis Kelce and who else? Xavier Worthy, and that's it. They have no one else. If I'm a Chiefs player, if I'm like a veteran Chiefs player, maybe not a rookie because they're going to play hard, but if I'm like a veteran, if I'm like Travis Kelce, like what's the motivation here? I'm checked out. I'm looking forward to my wedding. Like Chris Jones. I mentioned this on the show last night. He didn't even know. Did you hear that press conference? He didn't even know they were eliminated. Like he was talking. He's like, we're going to fight hard. We're going to play hard next week and make the playoffs. And the other reporter is like, you're eliminated. So upon learning that, like, I can't imagine Chris Jones playing all that hard. And Tennessee has been playing harder. Jeffrey Simmons was a monster last week, even in the loss. Like he was dominating that game. Titans have been a lot better defensively ever since Jeffrey Simmons came back. And offensively, I just don't trust them. But, Tony Pollard has been running a little bit better. And if the Chiefs are going to take this game off, then maybe Pollard has a decent game here, and the Titans could pull the upset and win this game to further ruin their draft positioning. So I am on the Titans here, not for a big play or anything, but something small, perhaps. What do you think about this game?
This game, you have to treat the Chiefs like it's week 18 last year or the week before.
Yep.
There's zero motivation for them to win this game. Do you think they got eliminated from the playoffs and their franchise hero is now out, potentially even to start next season? Do you think they went home last week and decided to watch the game film on Monday?
0%.
Did they come to meetings on Tuesday getting ready to game plan for the Titans? This is going to be as vanilla of a game plan, of a preparation as you can find. It's very hard to handicap motivation. There's no motivation in this game for Kansas City to win. And it's human nature. They just got eliminated. Quarterback's out. They're going to treat this game like it's week 18. Anybody who's slightly banged up is not playing. Rashee Rice not going to play. He might not even be cleared to play. But I can't see how he plays. I don't think Jones will play. I don't know how to make a line for this game. In my head, it's close to a pick 'em. You say, who's going to win this game? I have no idea. Flip a coin, which means if I'm getting 3.5 with a team at home, now the Chiefs have to travel without any sort of motivation. I can't lay 3.5. I would take Tennessee to win. And if I'm getting 3.5, I would absolutely be on Tennessee. Is it a top play? No, because who the heck wants to have a top play on Tennessee? But now last week, Cam Ward didn't get sacked. Now, we'll talk about why he didn't get sacked later. He played the Niners, who don't have a pass rush. But he didn't get sacked. That's a big step in the right direction. If he doesn't take a sack and he can avoid some of the turnovers, then this game could be 13-10. And if you think back to Chiefs week 18s of recent past, what did they lose last year? 31-0, 38-0 against Denver, a team that wasn't even really trying either. This team doesn't prepare for these games. They go in, they go through the motions like it's preseason, and they don't care if they score. I could see the Chiefs scoring 0. I could see the Chiefs scoring 6, 7, or 10 or fewer points. Give me the Titans in this game again. Is it a top 5? I don't know. But at 3.5, Super Contest is 3. Circa's 3.5. I think at 3.5, I like it a lot more.
Yeah, let's put this in the maybe pot for now, but it might be in our top 5 eventually. Yeah, I don't see the Chiefs. This is the first game, excluding the Week 18 games you mentioned. This is the first time they're ever playing a game with Mahomes that means absolutely nothing. Yeah. So, I really don't.
Mahomes not playing.
Right. Yeah. I don't see the motivation at all. All right. So
it's not just the motivation. I think it's the preparation, which is even more important than the motivation.
Sure. Right.
Teams, theoretically, you're playing for pride. Guys are going to play for position, play for jobs, play for tape. So it's very likely that the guys who are playing in the game are playing hard. But are they preparing for the game? Are they coming out of last week and saying, because we always talk about, the team is off a loss. When the team is off a loss, they focus a little bit more, focus a little bit harder. It cannot be that they're max prepared for this game.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I meant when I was discussing the Bills-Browns game. Like, Bills will, I'm sure, run hard and hit hard, but like, are they like studying film super hard against the Browns heading into the week? Like, I really don't think so. Off that win, so I feel the same way about that. I feel like stronger about this motivationally than that, but I still think those are two bad spots motivationally for these teams. All right, so the next game is Chargers at the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 2-point favorites, and we don't know. Speaking of motivation, the Cowboys might be eliminated by the time Saturday night rolls around. The Eagles, if they beat the Redskins, the Cowboys are out. Now, it doesn't automatically mean that they're going to lose. We saw a couple of years ago, I think 3 years ago, the Lions were eliminated week 18, and then they hosted the Packers, they went to Green Bay, and they fought super hard, and they eliminated the Packers. So that is something you have to keep in mind. However, that was the Dan Campbell team, and this is a Brian Schottenheimer team, and we don't have a big sample size on Brian Schottenheimer yet. Like, it's still his first year. But I don't trust him to motivate the team as well as Dan Campbell does. Dan Campbell's like a master motivator. Brian Schottenheimer doesn't strike me as such, and like really a Jerry Jones team doesn't really strike me as such either. So, assuming the Eagles win, and we won't know that before we submit our picks, unfortunately. But if the Eagles do beat the Redskins, then I think the Cowboys will be a little flat here, and I think the Chargers could show up and win yet another close game as they've done past 2 weeks. So I'm inclined to take the Chargers. I mean, they're the better team anyway. And their defense ranked number 2 now, by the way, in the past 2 months. Their defense has gotten a lot better since they got Khalil Mack and Denzel Perriman back. So yeah, I'm on the Chargers here, but what if the Eagles lose to the Redskins? Then we're kind of screwed if we take the Chargers.
I don't think we're screwed. I agree with you. I made the line pick 'em, so I think this game is a toss-up game. I don't understand why Dallas is laying points. That perplexed me. I understand the spot. The Chargers finally knocking out the Chiefs, not just winning. They knocked them out. Season's over. Chargers pretty much clinched a playoff spot with that win as well. It'd be very, very difficult for them not to make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah.
What do they have? 10 wins at this point?
Yeah, they can clinch. They can clinch with a win, and they need like 2 things to happen or something.
They're now 10-4. Theoretically, the only team that could jump them would be the Colts, I guess.
Yeah.
So they're all but in the playoffs at this point. Dak wasn't good last week. I mean, he was inaccurate throwing the ball downfield. Their third downs were a mess. They were 2 for 12 on third down. Even Aubrey missed a bunch of kicks last week. The defense has given up 106 points in the last 3 games. Now, that's not against the best of the best. And they did play the Lions in there, but they also played J.J. McCarthy. And was that also an Eagles game in there in that mix? I think so. Last 3. I know they gave up 106. No, sorry, Kansas City. They gave up 28 points to Kansas City on Thanksgiving, and they gave up Detroit over 40. And then last week, over 30 to J.J. McCarthy. I don't see a huge pass rush out of Dallas, so I don't know that they can take advantage of the lack of offensive line. Herbert's playing like an MVP right now. I know they're not scoring 30 points a game, but what he's doing behind that line, making plays when it counts, moving the clock, moving the chains to keep possession of the ball when it counts late, not necessarily, and the defense has been great. So I think that this is a pick'em game. I lean to the Chargers to win the game. I'm getting 2.5 points, which I don't understand why. I can see this game coming down to a 1 or 2 point win. We saw it tonight. It's a lot of games come down to that 1-2 point game that goes back and forth. Chargers are one of those teams that plays some of those types of games. And the Cowboys are a team that can't trust. We were on this team weeks ago against Arizona, lost outright. We learned our lesson. We kind of started avoiding them. I did elevate Dallas in my power rankings. I have Dallas now at number 15, so they're slightly above average football team. But I have the Chargers at number 9. And I really think that defense is playing well. Herbert's playing very well. I like the Chargers to win this game, and I'm getting 2.5 points. Again, similar to the Titans, I don't love it, but like I said earlier, not a lot of games that I really love as a top 5 pick. This is in my maybe column, so it's certainly a pick that I would consider.
By the way, you mentioned a lot of games come down to 1 or 2. 8.6% of games come down to 1 or 2 point margins. So it's pretty significant if you think about it.
Now with 2-point conversions, especially with teams down 14 that go for 2, there's a lot of games that you find yourself in that mix.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you get the overtime where teams are going to go for 2 like we saw tonight. I think especially with a kicker like Aubrey, you could end up with a lot of field goals in that game. We know Harbaugh likes to kick field goals as well.
Yep.
So in games where you get a bunch of field goals, you can get those weird scores where it's 7-6, 9-7, 17-16, 21-20. As the game progresses, you could see a 24-23 or a 26-24 type of finish where our 2.5 points comes into play. And I think the line should be pick 'em. So we're getting a little bit of value, and I think we're getting the better team. Mm-hmm. It is a bad spot, but you did say it. There is a factor of lack of motivation or kind of feeling down. Even if they want to win, they've prepared all week to win the game, but there is somewhat of a, oh man, we're out kind of the day before, and that will linger. So that Lions game that you referenced, they were knocked out like an hour before the game. Dallas could be knocked out 24 hours before the game, go to sleep thinking, shit, we're out of the game. We're out of the playoffs. That sucks. And then kind of not really get themselves mentally prepared the next day. So I like the Chargers. Don't love it, but I like the Chargers. I would consider this as a pick.
All right, I'll put it as a maybe for now. So two definites, two maybes, and we go to the final 1 o'clock game, which is the Bengals are -4 or 4.5 at the Dolphins in the contest. They are, I believe, they're 4.5 in the Circa and 4 in Super Contest. So we had a bad performance from Joe Burrow last week. You said earlier in the show, and you texted me that he was high. I mentioned it in the power rankings. This is probably the worst game I saw him play ever as a pro, except for the couple of games he had to start the year. I think it was 2 years ago when he had that calf injury. He was like miserable for a few weeks, but then he was great again. But he played so poorly, like not not necessarily in between the 20s, but like when he got to the red zone, he just made so many mistakes. And I have to think that he's going to bounce back. It was just an embarrassing performance. They got shut out. We know teams that get shut out tend to bounce back. Teams coming off shutouts, 47-31 against the spread since 2010. So it's generally a good spot to be in. And I think the Dolphins are in a terrible spot because first of all, they just got eliminated from the playoffs. They snapped their winning streak against Pittsburgh. They looked like they didn't want to tackle at all in the cold. Obviously, it's not going to be cold in Miami, but given that they really have nothing to play for the first time in a while, and they're coming off a short week. So, like, how much are they going to be able to prepare for Cincinnati? And they're starting a new quarterback. They're going with Quinn Ewers, who was a 7th-round pick. He is not a good player by any means. And I actually want to read you this quote. If you're not convinced that we should take Cincinnati, I'm going to read you this quote from Charlie Campbell, who's the most accurate draft analyst. So when Charlie wrote up his scouting report on Ewers, and obviously you watched Ewers last year, he said the biggest negative for Ewers is as a pro quarterback is lack of composure. Last season, Ewers got rattled by defenses at times, Georgia especially. That could be a big problem in the NFL. Ewers can get timid and skittish in the pocket when teams put steady pressure on him, leading to struggling with completions and decision making. When teams start applying a rush on him, it seems to get in Ewers' head, and he sometimes will anticipate the rush coming in a clean pocket and react to a pass rush that isn't there. It's a ghost rusher. Pro quarterbacks can't play the position scared, so Ewers getting rattled by the pass rush is a real concern. That doesn't sound like a guy I want to back at all. 7th-round pick, like a real non-talent. His mechanics are good. It kind of reminds me of like Brosmer. It's the same thing I ever said about Brosmer. Like mechanically sound, short accuracy is fine, but like he's not going to win many NFL games. He's not a real player. So, and if I'm a Dolphin player, I know Tua has not been great, but I'm seeing that like the coaching staff is moving off Tua, who was a former 1st-round pick for the 7th-round bum. I'm like, what do I have to play for here? We're going on vacation in 3 weeks. We just got eliminated. We had nothing going on. So I think Cincinnati will bounce back here. What do you think about this game?
All right, so before we talk spread, you mentioned the shutout loss. We know teams play hard off of shutout losses. Mm-hmm. Now, I know you quoted this, and I suggested that Burrow showed up to the game high. Let me clarify that. I think Burrow is in pain for whatever he was dealing with this season and is getting shot up before the game. So I don't necessarily think he's on drugs, although some of his press conferences midweek may suggest that I am correct and that he's doing something pre-game or pre-leaving his house. But I think that he's getting shot up before the game because I don't know any other explanation for his play. He's in the red zone and he's just, I don't know what he's looking at. And then after the game, even in the game on Thanksgiving night, when the team is eating turkey legs and he's like looking at his food, he's questioning his food, he's asking weird questions. He was just, it looks like he was being shot up either at halftime or before the game, and it's affecting his mindset. They were outgained 7.9 to 4.2 yards per play, which is worse than what the Jets were outgained in their game. They were 3 for 15 on 3rd down. There's no effort defensively whatsoever to tackle, which is pretty sad. So I don't really know what to expect other than to say teams that get shut out one week generally play harder for pride the next week. Miami, I don't know what they were doing. Perhaps McDaniels was high. They weren't playing at all. They're down by 4 scores or 3 scores, and they're just huddling up. I love Troy Aikman because he calls it like it is.
Yeah.
They're huddling up. They're taking their time. They're running the football. We're live betting Devon Achane props, so we're having fun with Devon Achane. Why not? And they're just not interested in scoring. Like, I understand the game's probably over, but give yourselves a little bit more of an effort. And to the point where Aikman is going crazy on the live broadcast. What are you people doing? They're not even trying to score. And at the end of the game, they finally score. Oh, it's a 2-score game. Let's kick it onside kick. So now motivation for them, as you mentioned, being eliminated. But here's the two problems that I have with your handicap. So number one, the easy one, is I think the players don't like Tua. As a matter of fact, I think they dislike Tua a lot. He's thrown them under the bus multiple times this year. He's calling for player-only meetings. He's calling people out in the locker room, and he stinks. First of all, he's supposed to be the leader of the team. He's the guy getting paid $40 million. He's the quarterback. So he's the lead. When he questions the team's leadership, dude, look in the mirror. Okay, that's number one. Number two is he's literally calling guys out, and he's playing like ass. He's throwing picks. He's throwing behind guys. He doesn't want to take a hit. I think that the players don't like him. And now there's a new guy coming in. I think there's going to be an increase of motivation to play hard for somebody else just because they don't like Tua. Now, let's throw that aside. Let's talk spread. I completely agree with you that Quinn Ewers is not an NFL quarterback. If he is one day in the future, God bless him. He doesn't look like one today. I agree with what Charlie Campbell wrote about him. He's obviously a late-round pick for a reason. And I don't think the Dolphins will win this game. I believe Cincinnati will win this game. At what point, though, do you say spreads matter? Okay? At some point, you're on Miami. At 14.5, you're probably on Miami. At 7.5, you're probably on Miami. This line is moving. I made this line Cincinnati minus 2.5 when with Tua. That was my spread. Cincinnati 2.5. You know what my spread is without Tua? Same, 2.5. I think Tua is a backup quarterback. I've said it for years that he's a backup quarterback. I don't think, even though Ewers is not any good by my guess and your guess and most people's guesses, I don't think it's a move through 3 downgrade because Tua has been playing like garbage. Tua has been the problem or one of the biggest problems on that team. Forget the cold weather. Forget the fact that he can't do anything. All they do is run the football, throw screen passes. Quinn Ewers can throw the same screen pass. He can hand the same ball off. And Cincinnati doesn't want to tackle. So I'm not laying 4.5 points. If this line were 2.5, it'd be one of my top picks. Give me a win. Let me win the game. But on a cover margin right now, no thanks.
Well, I agree that Tua has been bad, and it's a great point that the teammates don't like him. But about two things though. One, I do think there's a huge difference between Tua and Ewers, and obviously we haven't really seen Ewers yet. But and like I said, I agree that Tua is a backup, but I don't think Ewers is an NFL quarterback. It's like Tua one day could be like a Jacoby Brissett type backup, or maybe a Mariota type backup, and that's fine. But like Ewers, I don't think he's going to be in the NFL in 3 years. So I do think that there's a substantial difference. It's like the difference between Brissett and Brosmer. I like it could be that.
So in that case, you're right.
Yeah.
If he's that bad, if he's the Max Brosmer bad, then you're right. And the line should be 9.5 because they're not going to score.
Yeah.
But if they hand the ball off to a team that doesn't look like they have interest in tackling, or can he throw a screen? All I'm asking you is throw a screen.
Yeah.
By the way, I mean, I don't wish this game were a night game because thank God they flex us out of Sunday night. I'd much rather watch Patriots Ravens. But if this were a live game, we would be sitting there pounding Devon Achane when they're down when they're down 21-6 in the third quarter and the game's over. We're not live betting Burrow yards. We're live betting Achane receiving and rushing combination.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was an easy one Monday night. We almost hit the entire ladder. Yeah, Monday night there. It's a shame that he was three yards shy, I think.
So my question for you, Walt, is at what line? Because we all know spreads are the great equalizer. At what line are you on the Dolphins?
As a lean or as a bet?
As an office pool lean. As an office pool, oh, shoot, my office pool is now 9.5.
I think I would need one key number at least. So, sorry. I would need every key number, I should say.
What is every key number? 8.5, 10.5,
3, 6, and 7. So I would need.
You need 7.5.
I need 7.5.
So at 7.5, you're on Miami, but you love Bengals at 4.5.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I like the Bengals a lot at 2.5. You tell me it's 2.5, I'm on it. You tell me it's 4.5, I just don't trust it. I don't trust that defense to tackle. I'm worried about that defense tackling.
Well, let me be clear here. If it's 7.5, I might be on Miami for office pool, but at the same
You
time,
wouldn't
I'm
bet.
like, right, but at the same time, I'm even like, I don't even know what to do here. I think that to me is the correct number. Now, if it's like 9.5 or 10, then I'm like, okay, then I'm more confident in Miami. But at 7.5, I'm like, this is a toss up pick
I'll
for
tell
me.
you this: on a 13-point teaser, I'm not on either side. I'm not on Cincinnati.
I would be,
A friend of mine called me before and asked
yeah,
me my opinion on the game,
yeah.
and I said I need 10.5 to put money on the game.
Hmm.
I need 10.5 for Cincinnati. I don't want Dolphins at all. So I
I
agree
would
with
take
you on
that.
that front. I don't trust the Dolphins.
Yeah, yeah,
And can Cincinnati come out and play like they did against Baltimore and put up 31? This game could be 31-10. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But
yeah.
I'm not betting on a team that has played the way Cincinnati's played the last couple of weeks because I have seen a complete lack of effort on both sides of the ball, and I am disinterested in betting on that motivation because my only rationale for betting Cincinnati in this game would be they just got shut out and they're going to play for pride.
Wait,
And I don't know that to be a fact.
you think Cincinnati has not shown effort in the past few weeks?
I don't
Maybe
think Cincinnati has
last
shown
week,
effort
yeah.
last week at all.
Oh, I agree. Last week, but you said past few weeks. I think they've been great over the past month, but not last week, except for
Yeah,
last week.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Sorry, Buffalo. They showed plenty of effort against Buffalo. The fact
Yeah,
that they gave up points, a lot of that was fluky interceptions.
yeah,
They definitely gave a good effort against Buffalo, and I think they were very demoralized by that loss.
hmm,
And for some reason, just absolutely just didn't show up on either side last week against Baltimore. And maybe that means they're going to show up this week because we see teams that get shut out come back and generally look in the mirror and play for pride next week. These are professional athletes. And
yeah,
Joe Burrow happens to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league if he's not high before during the game.
yeah. Um, no, I think defensively they've been better the past month. Think about all their games, even last week. Like they had a bad loss, but they only allowed 17 points to the Ravens. Seven came off the pick six. Even forgetting last week's game, because I do agree with you. I think that was a low motivation game because they were effectively eliminated from the playoffs. Like when they lost to Buffalo, like not technically, but they're like this is way too much of a mountain to climb, and I think they were exhausted after the game. But before that, they held Baltimore to 14 points. I know Lamar's banged up, but it's still impressive, 14 points. Before that, they limited the Patriots pretty well. The Patriots they held the Patriots down pretty impressively before that. So and the Buffalo game, as you said, yeah, it was a 39-point game, but it was 14 points came off those interceptions. So 25 points to Buffalo, like that's really good for Cincinnati. If I'm Cincinnati, if I'm allowing only 25 to Buffalo, I'll take that any day. So their defense, I think, except for last week, well, even last week, they've been better somehow. And they Burrow maybe coming back from an embarrassing loss. I really like them this week. I think we're
Yeah,
going to
my
see a
biggest
much
problem
better.
again is the line move that went through 3
Yeah,
that I
I
don't think is
understand that.
warranted. So that's the biggest fundamental difference for us in this game is that you have
Hmm.
Ewers as a Max Brosmer quarterback,
Yeah,
and not that I'm disagreeing with that. I'm not fighting against it, but right now, if he's equal to Tua, this line should be 2.5, not 4.5.
yeah, that's true. If he's equal to Tua, and as far as motivation, I didn't address that. I think you're definitely right that they don't like Tua. But I don't think they're going to fight for Ewers either. Like if this were like a known backup, respected backup in the NFL, I think they'd maybe fight. But this is like this team just seems in such disarray.
By the way,
They're like
even if they do fight, they're still bad.
right.
It's still a bad
That's
football.
that's definitely true. But if I'm a player there, I just got eliminated, and the team seems to be in disarray. We're like, wait, who's starting? Ewers? Who's that? Because he was the third quarterback for most of the year. He wasn't even the backup. Zach Wilson was the QB two. So
Who's better right now, Saints or Dolphins?
I think I have the Saints ahead of the Dolphins. I think. My power rankings. Let me see. If not, then they should be ahead. Let me see. I have the Saints. At the Saints at 26. I have the Dolphins at 22. That seems wrong. I should probably change that. Well, 22 with Tua. I think yours is worse than Tua. So I would have the Saints ahead of the Dolphins.
I do too. I'm just asking.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's a through 3 change.
Okay.
I think that's a little much for me.
Okay, that's fair. What I make that line? Okay, I made it 2 with Tua.
Circle line went up. The contest went up to 4.5, and it's back down to 4. So it took some buyback at 4.5.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean,
you made the line 2.5 with Tua, and I didn't change it. I left it flat. Yeah, I left it at 2.5.
Weren't the Dolphins? The Dolphins are favored by 1.5, right? To start the week, I think.
The Dolphins were favored by 1.5 on the opener. Yes.
Yeah. So someone made a lot of money there, just taking.
And I like the Bengals from the beginning. I would have said to you, if we had the Bengals plus 1.5 in the game, or even as a pick'em, I would have said, yeah, they should be favored. They're the better team.
Yeah, I hope whoever took Bengals plus 1.5 also took the Dolphins plus 4.5. It's a nice middle there. All right, let's get to the 4:00 games. We have Falcons at the Cardinals. The Falcons.
You might be able to talk me into it. Let's put it.
Bengals.
You might be able to talk me into the Bengals just because as I'm looking at Miami, they're just so bad. They're so bad.
I think people were misled by their wins. Their stupid wins. The Redskins win where Redskins muffed the punt in Spain, and like if they didn't muff the punt, they probably would have won at the end of regulation, right? The Saints.
I'm sitting on that over 6.5. We both have Miami under 8.5 and under 7.5.
Yeah.
You have under 7.5 also, or just the 8.5?
I don't know. I have so many tickets I've laying around in my whatever. I
have the under 8.5, under 7.5, and over 6.5.
Yeah,
and I don't see. I don't think they're going to win another game.
Not with viewers. Well, they play. Who do they play next? They have the Buccaneers next week.
Yep.
And then they're at Patriots. So if the Patriots are in a position to sit their starters, maybe they win that game. I think that's what you have to hope for. I mean, look, they could lose. They could. Well, I don't. But not with you.
I don't think Vrabel's going to sit anybody.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know either way.
And I also think I think they're going to need to win that game. If you like Buffalo to win, which I do, the next couple of games, I think they're going to have to win that game.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see if that's true. I mean, they could also be chasing the Broncos for the 1 seed as well. So, all right. Anyway, we have Falcons at the Cardinals. The Falcons are 3-point favorites for some reason. They wanted Tampa, and this is the third time. This is the third time we've seen this. A Raheem Morris team coming off an upset win on national TV. The first time was against Minnesota in week 2. What they do? 30-0 to the Panthers loss. The next time they did that, they won against Buffalo on Monday Night Football. What they do next game, 20-10 loss at San Francisco. Now they just beat the Buccaneers on the road on Thursday Night Football. What do they do here? I think they probably lose to Arizona. Arizona's a team that has been really competitive this year in many games, except for when they go against elite competition. They went against the Rams. They got blown out. They went against the Texans last week. They had a lot. Well, first of all, they had a lot of injuries, but Texans defense is elite. They couldn't score. Now they're playing against an Atlanta team that is below average. They had a nice win, sure, but like this team has a lot of flaws, and I really do not trust Raheem Morris to coach up a team coming off a win like that. And so I think that Arizona should be able to score here in Atlanta. I think Jacoby Brissett will have a good game for the first time in a while. Like the Rams and Texans are top 5 in defense. The Falcons certainly are not. So Arizona's offense could be playing much better. I know it's not ideal that Paris Johnson's probably going to be out again, but I really like what I saw out of John Gaines, one of their young guards. He was playing for Evan Brown, who I thought, because I wrote up my write-up. I'm like, okay, they're missing 2 tackles, 2 guards. Like, this is the big problem. But actually, their backup guards have been playing really well. So I'm not as concerned with their offensive line as maybe I should be. I would normally be. And so, yeah, I think Arizona's going to win this game. Like, forget the +3. I think they're going to win this game outright. What do you think about this one?
I think someone's going to win by 3, and I don't know who it's going to be.
Right.
I look at Atlanta. They had 19 penalties. We talked about this game last week after the game ended.
Mhm.
They had 19 penalties and somehow found a way to win that game. I still have no idea how that happened. But they dominated the stats. Arizona, on the flip side, was outgained 6.3 to 4.9 yards per play. They were -2 in turnovers. Again, this team is 1-11 since their 2-0 start. Now, they're better than a 1-11 stretch, obviously. I think we both agree to that. They've gotten blown out in a couple of games against divisional opponents. Otherwise, they were competitive in a couple of games. They weren't competitive last week, clearly. They were competitive against the Colts. They were competitive against the Packers. They were competitive earlier in the season against Seattle and San Francisco. But I just don't trust either one of these teams. I don't trust Falcons with the spot. I don't trust the Falcons with the coach. But I don't trust Brissett. I don't trust that offense. I don't trust their defense. To me, this is probably the hardest game of the week to handicap. I did make a note here. Why is the line 3? So I made this line 1.5. I thought this game would be closer to a pick'em. I think Atlanta is slightly better, but given the Cardinals being at home, I think that line should be closer to a pick'em. I'm not surprised that Atlanta's favored, but I am surprised that it moved up to 3. Is it 3 across the board or just 3 in circa? I'm seeing 3 even in a couple of places, so I'm kind of surprised. If you gave me 3, I'm taking +3 because somebody's going to win the game by a field goal or maybe by 1 or 2. I definitely am not laying -3 with Atlanta, but I don't have the same conviction that Arizona is going to win the game like you do. So if you like it at +3 and a push is good enough, fine. But to me, I don't have any angle on this game, and I have no action on this game whatsoever.
Oh wow, okay. You said 1.5. You made the line 1.5.
I made the line 1.5. Yeah.
Yeah,
Falcons 1.5.
Oh, Falcons. I made Arizona -1. So I think
you have Arizona the better team, or you have Arizona -1 because you have them basically tied and they're at home.
I have these teams right next to each other in my power rankings.
Okay, so you give the home team like 1.5. I get it.
Yeah.
And, I think Atlanta has shown obviously inconsistency, but they've shown higher potential.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, they've had a couple of good games. Divine Diablo being back has helped them out. Cousins, if he's not under pressure, maybe it's just Tampa Bay. And I would like to see what's going on with London. Obviously, that's something that matters. Bijan matters. Kyle Pitts finally had a nice game last week. But again, is that just they're playing against Tampa Bay, and they seem to have moved the ball very nicely against Tampa Bay the last 3 or 4 matchups that they've played them. So here, I just don't trust the Cardinals. I've seen this team get blown out in the first half multiple times recently. And like I said, they're 1-11 straight up in the last 12 games. So that's not really a team that I have confidence in betting to win a game.
Well, let me throw this at you. I think if you reverse the schedules of these teams, if you give the Falcons the Cardinals schedule and vice versa, I think you would be looking at Atlanta being 1-11 as well. Atlanta's had such an easy schedule. They've only had 2 tough games by my estimate here. Maybe 3. I guess 3. They've had 3 tough games. Sorry. They beat the Bills back when the Bills were not playing well. They got destroyed by Seattle 37-9, and then they lost to the Patriots 24-23.
Missed extra point in New England. That game was basically a tie game.
Yeah. Outside of that, they haven't. I don't know if you want to count the Colts.
The Colts game was international, so I know you'll say it doesn't count, but they did force OT in that game.
Yeah, but that was when the Colts were like losing to the Steelers and like they were collapsing. So I think they played 3 tough games, whereas the Cardinals, being in their division that they are in, they played Seattle twice. They played the Rams. They played the 49ers twice. They also played the Colts, and that was a 4-point game. So kind of similar.
Oh yeah, no question. I fully agree with you. I'm looking right now from October 12th at Colts, Green Bay, at Dallas, at Seattle, San Francisco, Jacksonville, at Tampa, LA, at Houston. There's not an easy game on that schedule.
Absolutely brutal, like murderer's row.
That's a murderer's row, and I totally get it. But here's the problem: they're not losing games outside of the Green Bay game or the Colts game. They lost by 4, and they beat Dallas. How the hell did they beat Dallas? And we had that game. That was a Monday night game. Lost by 22 at Seattle. Lost by 19 San Francisco. Lost by 3 Jacksonville. Okay, 3 Tampa. They almost won that game. Lost 28 LA Rams and lost by 20 last week. So some of those games are just not competitive. So I get it. It's a brutal schedule, but they're not competitive in a lot of these games. The
Right.
Falcons, on the other hand, they either shit the bed against teams like Miami, or they blow games, or they lose that 30-0 game against Carolina, or somehow they find a way to beat Buffalo. I just don't know what to make of the team. So again, even like on a teaser, I have no interest in this game. I don't trust the Cardinals to win games. I don't trust Atlanta to win games. I don't know the line's 3. If you said to me, hey, this line should be pick 'em or 1, I buy it. We're getting 3 points. Take the 3 points. I have no problem with that. If this line were 3.5, 100%. Take the 3.5. But if we're taking the game because we're looking at the team pick 'em, you like them to win. I don't necessarily like them to win. I just think the game is going to be a 23-20, and I don't know who's going to win.
It could be a 3-point game. I could also see Arizona winning pretty easily as
Sure.
well. If Atlanta's a no-show like they were against Carolina and Miami,
Yep.
they've had so many games on the Raheem Morris. Like, and I saw this has nothing to do with the game, but I saw after that win against Tampa, I saw tweets saying like, "Hey, did Raheem Morris save his job?" Oh my god, can you not bring him?
I hope so. That'd be great.
Well, yeah, it's true. It's true. I sorry, Falcons fans, but that'll be a nice betting opportunity for sure. Okay, so we'll disagree on that game. I like Arizona quite a bit here. They're going to be in my card, at least in the circuit, because they're +3, but they're plus 2.5 in the Westgate. So
right, 2.5. I wouldn't go near it.
I still wouldn't mind it actually. If I'm like stuck and need a 5th game, I think it might be it. But I still would like the 3, obviously.
When I rank my games, that's number 16 on my card.
Wow. Okay, it's closer to the top for me. All right, so we get to the next game, which is Jaguars at the Broncos. The Broncos are 3-point favorites here. I know we're going to disagree on what the spread should be because I already heard you say that you have Denver -3. I think
I have 2.5. I made a mistake.
2.5.
I made it 2.5.
Okay, 2.5. I have Jacksonville -1. So
wow. Okay.
I mean, look, I'm well. I wouldn't say I'm down on Denver compared to you because we have them at 10. I'm down on Denver compared to everyone else, but I'm higher on Jacksonville than you are. So like,
I think you're higher on Jacksonville than everybody.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna bet.
I don't see anybody who has them in the top 5.
I'm gonna bet them to win the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Good luck.
Like I already have futures on like the Bills and the Rams. So I just want another team. Anyway, I like Jacksonville here. I'm not really convinced that Denver is for real. Like if Parsons and Watson didn't go down, I think the Packers still win that game. They were ahead for most of the game anyway, and they just fell apart because they lost their best weapon, they lost their best defender, one of the best defenders in all football. And so that if Denver had lost that game, I think people would think a little bit differently about them. But everyone sees 12-2, and they think they should be the best team in every power ranking. And I'm like, well, just go to NFL.com standings at that point if you just want to see that. But I like this is a Bronco team that has struggled to beat bad teams. Like they won 10-7 against the Raiders, and it wasn't a fluke because the next time they played the Raiders, they scored 17 offensive points against the Raiders. Like this is a team that doesn't score a lot. But now Bo Nix did have a really good game last week. I don't really trust him to keep doing that though. Like he does a lot of stupid stuff. He throws off his back foot so much. Jacksonville's improved defensively. They're now ranked 8th in EPA defensively. Their pass rush is really good. They stop the run very well. They still have issues in the back end, but I don't know if Bo Nix can really take advantage of that. But I do think Jacksonville could move the ball in Denver. Denver's defense allowed like 26 to Marcus Mariota, for example. Like they've had some not great performances this year, even though they're ranked highly in some categories. I don't know. I called them a paper tiger defense last night. I don't know if that's I don't know if I fully believe in that. Like they're still a top 10 defense. But I don't think they're like first or second, as some stats say. I think they're in the bottom half of the top 10. So I don't think they're impenetrable. So I do like Jacksonville +3. It's not like one of my favorite games, but I do anticipate betting on it. What do you think about this game?
Well, I like Jacksonville also +3. So I made the line 2.5. I think 3 is a good number. I think I have Jacksonville winning the game outright. So I think this is certainly a pick that I would be willing to make. Now, forget Jacksonville for a second. You mentioned Bo Nix. So Bo Nix probably had the best game of his career.
Yeah. And
one of the things that he did great, in addition to having 4 touchdowns, it's easy to look at a box score and say, wow, he had 4 touchdown passes. That's fantastic. Denver was 4 for 4 in the red zone. That's very good. Most impressive for Bo Nix last week was 8.9 yards per attempt. Most of his games are 5 to 6 yards per attempt, where he's throwing everything behind the line of scrimmage or short. But here's what's not in the box score. And let me give credit to Bo Nix because he's been very clutch this year. Like Caleb Williams, although Caleb Williams threw a terrible pick in the end zone to end that game last week. Bo Nix has been very clutch. They've pulled out some of these wins, and he's been good in the fourth quarter. He's been terrible in the first three quarters on average, but he's been very good in the fourth quarter, leading comebacks, and he's a gamer. He plays with that kind of moxie, kind of like a mini Baker Mayfield. Right? I don't think he's as good as Baker Mayfield. I think Baker's pretty good, but Bo Nix has been playing well in the fourth quarter. But here's what's not in the box score. He threw 3 picks last week that were dropped. So if you look at the box score and saw four touchdowns, fantastic. But if you saw 4 touchdowns and 3 picks, not so fantastic. Yeah. He threw on each of the last 2 drives balls that were dropped by one Packer linebacker and one safety. I forget exactly who it was, but they dropped picks that were almost handed to them. Now, Sean Payton also had some weird decisions in that game. Twice they went for 4th downs when they probably should have punted. There's not a lot of time left in the game late. Could have pinned Green Bay back on like the 10-yard line up by 8 points. Probably should have punted. Instead, he goes 4th and 3. Bo makes a bad decision, throws the ball. It's not even close. Incomplete pass. Green Bay ball at midfield with a real chance. And then Green Bay goes 4 and out. Denver has the ball again. Again, they don't punt. And again, Green Bay gets the ball, this time deep in their territory. And again, fails to move the football, but that's because Jordan Love is not very good. But Bo Nix, while he had probably his best game of his career, he still threw turnover-worthy plays. He put the ball in harm's way a lot. And that's something that's he's not going to get away with that in big games in the playoffs. He's going to look like Jordan Love in the playoffs, where he's going to throw those picks. Those picks are going to get caught, and it's going to go on his index, and people are going to look at the box score and say, wow, Bo Nix, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. That's not very good. Well, that's what he's been doing all year. He throws the ball short. When he throws the ball downfield, he's generally inaccurate, and he puts the ball in harm's way. So I'm not a Bo Nix believer. I think that he's played well. He certainly had his moments this year, coming back against the Giants, a game they should have lost. The comeback against the Eagles went to sleep. The Raiders, you mentioned already, both games against the Raiders, really, he didn't play so well. So, and Jacksonville arrow up. Now, I don't think Jacksonville is number 5. I have Jacksonville at number 12. They're definitely playing better. They're beating the teams that they're scheduled to beat. That's obviously important. You got to play your card. Jacksonville, let me look at the last couple of games for Jacksonville here. Just give me a second. I want to pull it up for you.
They destroyed everyone.
Here, yeah, they're destroying everybody, but who are they playing, right? They beat the Jets. They beat the Colts without a quarterback. They beat Tennessee. They did not play well against Arizona. And the game before that, they played very well against the Chargers.
Yeah.
Before that, they blew a game against Davis Mills. And the game before that, they blew a game and almost lost to the Raiders, who missed on a 2-point conversion in overtime that could have won or tied the game late. And obviously the game before that was overseas, so it doesn't count, but they lost by 4 touchdowns. So, yeah, they've played great the last 3 weeks. They put up 48 against the Jets, who just fired Steve Wilkes. They put up 36 points against a broken Daniel Jones or Riley Leonard. And they put up 20. They beat the Titans by 22 points. They took care of business. Why that warrants them jumping into the top 5, I don't know. But I will agree with you that they're playing better. I don't trust Trevor Lawrence 100%. He's now going on the road. I do think Denver is one of the top. I don't know if they're the bottom half of the top 10. Maybe they're more in like that 4 range. They're very good defensively. They fly around to the ball. Greenlaw and Hufanga, my ex-Niners, are excellent. Benito is one of the best linebackers or edge rushers in the league. They're very quick off the ball, especially at home. I don't necessarily trust Lawrence on the road, but Lawrence can move around with his legs and make some plays. So if there is pressure, he could escape pressure. And you mentioned this a couple of times. Jacoby Myers has been a huge pickup for him. They're not forcing the ball to Travis Hunter. Brian Thomas Jr. is not the only receiver anymore on the team, a guy who can't catch. Myers has been a short-handed threat, especially on third down, especially red zone. So that's been good. I do like the +3 here. I think this is a really good game. I think both teams would prove something to me if they can win this game. I'm not a believer in Denver. I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl. I believe they'll get the 1 seed, but I believe they'll lose somewhere along the line. I would not be betting on this team going forward. I'm just surprised that you have Jacksonville as number 5, given the last 3 or 4 wins that have obviously told you that they're better than teams like Houston or New England or Baltimore. So I don't have them in that regard, but I can see them certainly winning this game, and I like the +3.
Well, I don't think you can't put Baltimore there. They've not played well.
No, they haven't, but I'm still gonna play going forwards. I'm not ready to dump my Baltimore stock.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't wouldn't dump it all. I'd sell a little bit of it. So, um, in New England either, like, I mean, they haven't beaten anyone either except for the Bills. But I mean, the Jaguars just, I mean, the eyeball test. I think this is the best we've ever seen Trevor Lawrence.
No question.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers has been such a godsend for him. He's never had a player like him. He's had talented receivers, but he's never had like super reliable guy you can go to on third down. And I think having that just makes any quarterback so much better, especially one who's never had someone like that. And Brian Thomas Jr. is healthy. Brenton Strange coming back from injury is huge too. Like Lawrence loves Brenton Strange. So that's another weapon for him. The offensive line is playing better. The defense is playing better. The defense, like I said, ranked 8th now in EPA. They're getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They're stopping the run well. This team is just playing super well right now. Like destroying the Chargers like that. I thought, like, at first I was like, yeah, I mean, I was like, what happened there? But I was like, the more I think about it, like the more it makes sense that like that game starting then is like kind of like when Myers got integrated into the offense fully, and like that's when they really took off offensively. And they just look so great right now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they've been beaten that many good teams recently, but or I guess for the rest of the year, but like, well, I mean, the Chargers 10-4.
That was a month ago. It was 5 games ago.
What, the Chargers game? Yeah, it was week 11. I mean, that's when Myers fully got integrated. Like, what?
Since then they did not play a good game against Arizona. They barely beat Arizona, and they beat Tennessee, the Colts, and the Jets. So I agree with you. They're playing great, and I agree with you. Lawrence has looked really good, and I agree with you. They're going to win this game, but I'm not ready to put them in the top 5.
Yeah, but think about it this way: like if Denver plays those games against those teams, do they blow them out the same way Jacksonville did? I don't think so. We haven't seen that all year. The Denver,
absolutely, 100%. Yeah. We're in exactly the same position on Denver. I have Denver number 10, and I have them right there with the Chargers. I think Chargers slightly better than Denver. I have Green Bay with Denver, and I have Jacksonville half a point lower. I have Jacksonville right there with Denver. So, which is why I think this line is fair at 2.5. I think 3 is a little bit of a stretch for me.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, either way, we put the Jacksonville Jaguars on our.
Yeah, we definitely agree on the game. We just disagree on how high Jacksonville is. Like, you're looking to take Super Bowl futures, and I get it. That's fair, given all these crazy matchups that we're going to see. Like, you very likely will get Jacksonville in the 3 seed. The problem is, I don't think Jacksonville's getting out of the first round. Now, if they play the Chargers, that's probably their best matchup. I would still probably lean to the Chargers, but I can absolutely see Jacksonville winning that game. I would 100% take Buffalo over them, and I would probably take Houston over them as well.
I think Houston's a coin flip because I have Houston 6, so I think it's a coin flip to Houston. I mean, they're 20-1 in a conference that's wide open, so I'm going to be on Jack.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a fair number.
Yes, Buffalo's the only team I'm confident in. So if I'm only confident,
probably terrible.
Yeah, I was just saying. Well, I already have futures on Buffalo anyway. So Buffalo is 8-1 right now. So if
you're probably better off betting Buffalo week in, week out. Probably get better than 8-1.
Right, if you can profit boost or something, sometimes think of that out. But no, I like I said, I have a future on the Bills. And they're the only team I'm confident in, and so I would like to have another team or two with high odds. And the Jaguars are 20-1, which doesn't seem right to me. I think with their talent, I think they should be where like put. I think like Denver's 8.5-1. That's absurd.
I just find it interesting you have Jacksonville favored in Denver. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, well, this is the number 5 team at the number 10 team, right? So, and then okay, so Houston's 12-1. Like, I think Jacksonville should be 12-1. If Houston's 12-1, I think Jacksonville should be the same price. Patriots are 13-1, yeah, somewhere in there, like 12, 13-1, like 20-1 seems like a good bargain to me. Anyway, we can move on. So I mean, this is my favorite game on the slate. I hope we feel the same way. Steelers are at the Lions. The Lions are -7. So Steelers just played their best game. I don't know if it's their best game of the season, one of their top games of the season. Definitely, they were up 28-3. If they kept their foot on the gas, it could have been like 38-3. Like they just let the Dolphins do whatever they wanted in the fourth quarter, which was not really anything because, like you said, they were just lollygagging down the field. But like I have trouble seeing them play just as well against a much better team than them. Like the Dolphins are worse than the Steelers. We know that. The Lions are a lot better than the Steelers, and the Steelers don't have a full week to prepare for them. It's a non-conference opponent, so they don't really know them that well, and they have 1 day fewer to prepare. And I think that's just a really bad spot here for a Detroit team coming off a loss. Dan Campbell off a loss, by the way, 15-5 against the spread since the second season. And so we're going to get Detroit at their best. We're going to get the Steelers in a bad situation. And with no TJ Watt, by the way. TJ Watt was not missed against Miami because they didn't need him. He will be missed here. Like not having TJ Watt to slow down the Lions are going to score a lot in this game. And so do we trust Aaron Rodgers to engage the Lions in a shootout? Like I don't. Like they'll score, but what do they score? Like 20, 24 maybe? Like I think the Lions are going to get to high 30s or 40s. So I like the Lions a lot here. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the Lions to win by double digits. The Campbell off the loss factor is big. This is a playoff game for Detroit. I think any loss, they're pretty much eliminated. Mm-hmm. And Pittsburgh absolutely does not need this game, and I think they know that. Pittsburgh's playoff come down to Week 18, Baltimore. Now, unless Pittsburgh wins the next two and Baltimore loses the next two, and obviously then there's, the Week 18 game won't matter. But I think Pittsburgh goes into this game thinking, or Pittsburgh comes out of last week thinking, we control our destiny. We're playing Baltimore in 2 weeks. We win that game. We're in. So, and you mentioned the Dan Campbell record ATS off of a loss. I wish this line were a little bit lower. I made the line 5.5. Now, obviously, that's pure power rating. That's not factoring the situation. So, situation, of course, matters. But my pure power rating doesn't have this game being more than a touchdown. I just see exactly what you said. I think Detroit comes out and puts up 30 plus. I think the better bet in this game, if you're betting the game, is Detroit. Points, team total points over. Let's take a look at the over under. I just want to see what that total is probably going to be. Detroit line is 52, so we're looking at 30. Wow. 30, so they're going to be close to 30 on that over under. Might be 29.5, might be 30.5. But that's what I'm looking at mid game, is looking for Lion team total overs. I don't necessarily trust the Lions secondary. Now, Rodgers last week threw the ball downfield. What's the status of the secondary right now with Kirby and Branch? Do we know if they're playing? Are they definitely out?
Kirby has not practiced yet. Branch is out. So
yeah, so that secondary being out is a bit of a problem. Obviously, they're not going up against the Rams offense, right? Like last week where they gave up 30 plus. They played pretty well in the first half, and then the tide just changed. But I like the motivation factor. I like Detroit at home to put up a lot of points. I don't see Pittsburgh keeping up with them. They have no real run game to speak of. Most of their passing is short. Last week, Rodgers proved us wrong. He threw the ball downfield, but again, it was against Miami. So can't take much out of it. And again, the situation and spot screams Detroit. Just wish the line were a little bit less than 7. I don't mind it. I think they'll win by double digits. If you love it, we can take it. Yeah. I'm on it. It's a game that I highlighted as a maybe, but the 7 is like, why is this 7? Is this line 7 across the board right now? Yes, it's 7 across the board right now in most places. So it's just generally not a line that I like to rush to bet, but the situation is all over Detroit.
We agree on this one. This is my top play of the week, so it'll definitely be on the card. So we have 4 definites now. We might not even have to go to the maybes. So we have 3 more games to talk about.
What were the definites that we had? Was the Bears a definite?
Bears, Saints, Jaguars, Lions. And then the maybes are Titans, Chargers, Bengals, Cardinals.
Yeah, Bengals is probably a game that I like. You're gonna have to really talk me into that, and the Cardinals, that's not for me.
Okay, well, we have 2 other maybes then. Detroit team total, Andy says, is 28.5.
Okay, yeah. All right, it's fair.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think they get to mid to high 30s or 40s here. So,
but that's another situation when we can live bet that, because if they're up, I don't know that the line continues to follow, and they'll keep their foot on the gas.
Oh yeah,
they'll score.
They love to do that.
They love it.
Yeah,
and we'll be all over Gibbs.
I think this will be a Walt. What do I call it? The Walt line instead of the alt line. The minus 20.5.
The Walt line.
Yeah, the Walt line. So Tom coined that. I can't take
Get
credit.
yourself some Gibbs stock mid game.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if they find themselves down, you get yourself some Goff stock.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. So, we definitely agree on this one. So, all right. So, the last of the 4 o'clock games, Raiders at the Texans. The Texans are 14.5 point favorites here in Houston. 14 in the contest, though. So, 14 actually, talked about how like the ones and twos hit 8.6% of the time. 14 is actually the fourth most likely result of any NFL game. So, that's actually like somewhat significant. The 14.5 difference there. But not necessarily that I'm looking to play Houston at minus 14 because now I don't want to back the Raiders really, but Geno Smith is coming back, and he's been he's playing. This is not a he's not a good quarterback anymore. He's never a top 10 quarterback, sorry, many times, but he is a lot better than Kenny Pickett, though. Like we saw Kenny Pickett last week, it was a disaster. Also, as a bonus, Colton Miller might be back too. He almost played last week, and he was limited twice so far. I feel like they would probably need a full practice from him to play him. So we'll see about his status. But Colton Miller being back won't solve like most of the issues the Raiders have on the offensive line, but like that'll at least give them a really good tackle to have against Houston's edge rushers. So if assuming Geno will be back, but if Miller's back too, then I'm suddenly like somewhat interested in Houston because Houston has 2 tough games coming up. They have who do they have week 17? Because I know they play the Colts in week 18. Houston has the Chargers. They have the 10-4 Chargers, and they have the rival Colts coming up. So this is their last easy game of the season, basically. So I can't see them being like, oh man, the Raiders coming up. Let's really dig into this game film. If this were Kenny Pickett, then I would like Houston, but Geno Smith is at least a professional quarterback, unlike Pickett, and if Miller's playing, that'll give him better protection. So I don't know. I'm not going to bet this one, but I would take the 14.5 with the Raiders. What do you think?
I wouldn't touch this game. I would have no interest in the Raiders. I think there's a chance they can get shut out again, even if it is Geno. How do they keep him upright? Colton Miller or not? I mean, he hasn't played in weeks.
No.
Against that pass rush in that building. That's not the situation that I want to have the Raiders, even though if Geno plays, that line probably should be 11. I made the line 13 with Pickett, and I think Geno is worth 2 points. So call it 11. 14 is a huge number. I'm not laying 14 with Houston. I'm not touching this game. Raider team total 10.5. To me, the thing to bet in this game is Raider team total unders, because then you don't have to worry about Houston scoring the ball. You just play the spread, play the clock, and I would have no interest in this game whatsoever. I think this is an easy pass.
Yeah, I'm not playing this one either. So, all right, let's get to the Sunday night game. Patriots at Ravens flexed in here. Ravens are favored by 3. As you said, I just based on what you're saying, I assume you're going to be in Baltimore, given that you said you're not selling your Ravens stock yet, and also that I assume you're not as high on the Patriots as some people would be. I actually believe in them more than Denver, but I'm not really ready to anoint them as a great team. They blew that lead. For some reason, Drake May forgot that he could scramble. As like one of the most frustrating things in the fourth quarter.
I had that over. 43.
Yeah.
He had 46.5. Son of a bitch, stop running.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was ridiculous. So anyway, the Ravens have their defense showed signs of life last week for the first time, just because they struggled for a while, but getting Darius Washington, one of their safeties, back, I think made a big difference. When I talked with Andy yesterday, I mentioned a bunch of players were DMP, like Roquan Smith, Kyle Van Noy, Ronnie Stanley, Chidobe Awuzie, Teddy Buchanan's out. what is going on here? Is this going to be like a redux of what we saw earlier in the season when they had no defenders? Well, a lot of those guys returned to a limited practice today. The only one who didn't was Jadobi Awuzie, and obviously Teddy Buchanan because he's out. So it looks like they're going to have a healthier defense than as long as last week wasn't a fluke. And I'm willing to believe that the Ravens are going to have a decent defense. I think that they should be able to play pretty well against Drake May, and I think this is a step up in class for the Patriots. And as we've talked about over the weeks, and as Andy and I mentioned yesterday, the Patriots currently have not beaten a team that has a winning record except for Buffalo, and then Buffalo got them back. Now next week, that unless the Bucs and Panthers tie. That won't be the case because one of them is going to win, and the Patriots beat both of them. But still, like the fact remains that they haven't beaten a great team outside of Buffalo. And if Baltimore is going to keep playing better, and Lamar looks healthier and healthier each week, he's not 100% yet, but he's at least trending positively. Then I think the Baltimore is going to win this game. So what do you think about it?
So let's start with New England. Right. New England's off the bad loss. They blow the 21-0 lead. They were 7.2 yards per play for the game. They really dominated early and were horrendous in crunch time. Once Allen got rolling, it's like they couldn't stop that train, right? Mm-hmm. Offensively, they were really poor. Defensively, they were really poor. I'm not suggesting they're not a good team because they gave up a lead to Buffalo. Buffalo is a very good team, and once they got that game moving, the momentum shift. So really, Buffalo would have come back on anybody. And they did that earlier in the season against Baltimore. But I kind of elevated my thought against them because watching that first half, listen, the first half did happen. And even though Buffalo is really bad in the first half, I still have the Pats. I'm not sure if I have them ahead of the Texans or not. I have them tied with the Texans. I really have been impressed with the Patriots throughout the season, despite the teams that they've played. You can only play your schedule, right? So they beat the Giants. They killed the Giants. Great. Not impressive. They beat Cincinnati. Not impressive, right? Jets, not impressive. Tampa, we can make an argument in that game, which was probably not as close as a 5-point win. They were up by more than that earlier in the game. Tampa scored late. Tampa's not a great team. They barely beat Atlanta, who we know is not a good team. Cleveland, Tennessee, New Orleans was closer than it should have been. These are not impressive wins, but I think they've taken care of business. And that first half last week said to me, as you're watching that first half, you're thinking, all right, this team actually can really compete. Mm-hmm. Then you watch them blow the game. Does that mean you throw all those thoughts out the window? I don't. So I still think the Pats are a good team. I think they're a worthy team. Do I think they're a real Super Bowl contender? Like I said, outside of Buffalo, I don't think anybody is really on that level. Can they beat Buffalo? Sure. Can Buffalo lose to any of those other teams? Of course they can. So, but I still think New England is in that 5 to 7 range on a power ratings. And I'm absolutely not willing to dump that stock either. Now, I mentioned Baltimore, so I have Baltimore at 8. And this is really on pure potential. They have not played well at all. They have not lived up to that, my number 8 projection. Last week, they played better. The Pittsburgh game, they were awful. The Cincinnati game on Thanksgiving, they were awful. They beat the Jets by 13. They were really bad in that game. The Cleveland game the week before, they were bad. The Minnesota game, they got lucky with some fluky picks and some fluky plays. Muffed kickoffs by Minnesota in that game made that game a little bit further than what the score should have been. So they definitely have not earned the number 8 ranking for me in my power rankings. But remember, power rankings are not a resume of what you've done in the past. Power rankings are what you project going forwards. So I project going forwards that Baltimore is a top 10 team. They absolutely have not. If you're talking about like college football, would they belong in the top 10? No, their resume does not belong in the top 10. But do I think they're a top 10 going forwards? If Lamar is getting healthier, and that's a big if, I think this week he missed practice because of an illness. Of course he did. Every year he misses practice because of an illness at some point. But at least it wasn't because of an injury that we're not aware of. Maybe it is. Maybe he still can't run like he used to. But if he can, and they're at home on a Sunday night game, I think they're the team that's going to win this game. Now, because I have the Pats ahead of them, I did not make the line 3. I make the line 1.5. I would have much rather the Super Contest line at 2.5 from a contest perspective. At 3, I don't love it. But I have the Ravens to win the game. So if you like the 3, I would take it. But if you kind of think like I do that, hey, I like the Ravens to win, but I don't think 3 is a fair number. I think 2.5 is a more fair number. Then I'm okay with skipping it. What is the lines across the board here? New England is favored by 3 at Circa, 3 even at the Westgate, 3 pretty much everywhere. The Hard Rock has a 2.5. I really like it better at 2.5. So I think they're going to win this game by 3 points. I have the game 27-24. I think it's going to be a good game. But once again, I think they're going to find a way to win, and we're going to come out of the game saying New England hasn't beaten anybody. Does that mean New England's not good? No, it doesn't. But they haven't beaten anybody. They haven't proved it. And I don't think they're going to prove it this week on the road either.
Yeah. I'm not in love with this game. I like it a little bit. I feel like we like it the same amount.
Kind of outside looking in.
So yeah, I don't know what that means for a card. Maybe it's maybe it's our.
I think we have other games that are ahead of it. To be honest,
I think so too. I'll still put on the maybe spot.
Okay.
Okay. So it's 3. Yeah, 3 in the Circa. So all right, the final game. 49ers are at the Colts. This line is either 6 or 5.5, depending on where you look. It's 5.5 in the Circa Millions. It's 6.5 in the Super Contest. I'd love to hear your opinion on this game. I feel like this really could go really either way, because the Niners are they're a team that's not as good as the record indicates. However, they are going against Phillip Rivers, and Phillip Rivers almost won against Seattle, and that like the Seattle game where they beat the Rams tonight. That looks so much like way more impressive now, I think, to people, where like to me, I really don't care. To me, Seattle last week was zero effort performance, where they didn't have a good game plan. They didn't look like they played as hard. Darnold was awful in that game, even though the Colts are missing both their starting outside cornerbacks, and that's still going to be the case this week. So I like when Kyle Shanahan has as a matchup against a team with defensive liabilities, and I trust him to take advantage of that. Also, the Colts are not good against tight ends, and so George Kittle should have a really good game. But the Niners have some tough games coming up. They have the 10-4 Bears next on national TV, and then they have the Seahawks. So they might see this as their final easy game of the year. And I don't know how seriously they're going to take Phil Rivers, because Seattle didn't take him seriously. So I think if the Niners show up and play hard, and Shanahan's exploiting those liabilities, if the Niners go up 17-0, or if they're up like 24-3 or something, then I don't know how Phillip Rivers comes back, because all he did was dink and dunk. But if the Niners show up a little flat and like this is a close game, I think the Colts could steal it potentially, or like the Niners win by 3 or something stupid like that. So I'm pretty torn on this game. I wrote up Colts on the site, but I'm not. This is one of my least confident picks of the week. So
what was your score in this game?
My score in this game was, hold up 1 second. It was no, actually, sorry, I had the Niners. Colts, 49ers 24, Colts 17. So
what was your spread? So I meant to ask you, what was your spread in this game?
Oh, what I make the spread? I made the spread 5.5. Niners 5.5.
So there's a couple of stats I found, and I want to read this to you.
Okay.
And this is like stats you almost never see from a 10-4 team.
Okay.
Right? And we know going into the season, which we said, the Niners are going to get the 1 seed because they have the easiest schedule that I've ever seen. Now, New England has had pretty much the easiest schedule we've ever seen. And the Niners don't have Bosa or Fred Warner, and are missing other guys throughout the season. I'm missing a lot of guys on defense. So obviously, they're not as good as their 10-4 record. But here's something that I found and I copied. 49ers are getting outrushed for the season, 1,485 to 1,419 by their opponents. They're getting outgained 4.3 yards per carry, so they only have 3.5. That's like last in the league rushing. The Niners on a play-by-play basis are negative 0.2 for yards per play, offense and defense combined. Niners have been sacked on the season 22 times. They only have 16 sacks in 14 games. It's pathetic.
Wow, that's terrible.
Niners are -5 in turnover differential. So here's a couple of things that we talked about from last week. Let's talk Colts. Colts, close call. All right, everyone says, Rivers was great. Rivers was awful. Rivers threw the ball 4 yards per play. Okay, 4 yards per attempt. He did.
Yeah.
Here's what he did well, though. He got rid of the ball in 2.4 seconds per drop back. He dropped back. He threw the ball. Everything was short, as we know. He doesn't have the arm to throw deep. He did exactly what a really bad backup quarterback should do. That's the script. So forget that he was good or bad. He did the script as it should have been done. He dropped back, he throws short. He drops back, hands the ball off. Once he had to throw the ball 15 yards downfield, he threw a pick or he took a sack. But he only took 1 sack in the game. You know how many sacks? Cam Ward, I mentioned this before with the Titans. Cam Ward has led the league this year in sacks taken. He took 0 sacks last week against the wonderful Niner pass rush. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Brissett threw the ball 50 times in a game. 50 times in a game. 0 sacks. And the Niners knew he was throwing. You know why? Because they were up by 3 touchdowns. That's why he was throwing the ball on every single drive, every single play. Drop back, throw. They still can't touch him. The Niners have the worst pass rush that I've ever seen. And that's because they don't have players. They're missing everybody on the defensive line. They're playing backups to backups in the front 7. So they have no pass rush. So here's what's going to happen. Rivers is going to drop back to pass. He's going to throw a ball short. He's going to hit Pittman on these little fade routes. He's going to hit, he might not hit Pierce because Pierce only goes deep. He's going to hit Downs over the middle. He's going to throw a screen pass to Taylor a bunch of times. We can ladder Taylor yards rushing and receiving because he's going to get a lot of usage. There's no reason why they wouldn't have a heavy dose. Slow the game plan down, run the clock, shorten the game. You know who else wants to shorten the game? Kyle Shanahan. He wants to run the ball. He wants to punt. He wants to kick field goals. Now, the Niners, being that they're overrated, I have the Niners 14th in my power rating. I have them as a +1. And the Colts, I have them at 20. I have them -2.5, take off another half point for Sauce Gardner. So, and I don't think it's a huge drop. Now, if it was Riley Leonard, I think it's worse than that. But Rivers, to his credit, he can't throw the ball downfield, but he could dink and dunk, and he could manage the game.
Yeah.
He's not going to run. He's not going to escape pressure, and they're not going to put up 25, 26, 27 points. Maybe they get to 20. Maybe they get to 17. So with my power ratings, I make this line 3. And I see 5.5, 6, 6.5 points. I think that's insane. I'm worried as a Niner fan with the Niners winning the game. I know the Niners have big games coming up. They play Seattle now potentially for the 1 seed or for the division. Week 18, they play Chicago, which is a big game for playoff positioning next week, Sunday Night Football. And now they're going on the road Monday night off of an easy win against Tennessee, which, by the way, they only covered at the end of the game because of the field goal. Now, they were up by 21, so they were taking advantage of the game. But at one point in the game, they're up by 10 or what was it? They're up by 14. They have the ball. And I said to my son, I said, the Niners need a field goal on this drive. They need to get this to 17, which they did. On another drive, Purdy got hit and fumbled at midfield. They gave up long passes to Cam Ward. They gave up long runs in that game. I mentioned the pressure was a disaster. I don't see how the Niners run away with this game. I don't think this is going to be a game like 24-10 or it's going to be 17-0, like you mentioned, and Rivers has to come back. I think this game is going to be 10-7 at halftime or 10-6 at halftime or 9-6 at halftime. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring, slow first half where the game is very close. And even if the Niners are up by 10 sometime in the third quarter or 13, I see no reason why the Colts can't score a touchdown, make this a 6-point game, make it a 1-score game. Can the Niners cover? Can the game be 23-17 and Niners cover 5.5? Of course. I think this game is going to be tied late. I think someone's going to win this game 23-20 or 20-17. I'd like to believe the Niners will win the game, but 6.5, 5.5, like this is my favorite game on the board.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, why don't you think the Niners are going to score a lot? I get what you're saying about the
defense. Because I think the game is going to be slow. I think it's going to be a very long, drawn-out Rivers throwing short, keep the clock moving like last week. Last week, the game was – I get it. We both agree Clint Kubiak was a disaster last week. But the game was 13-3 at halftime. A lot of long drives, run the ball, throw the ball short. He's going to complete passes, Rivers, because he's not going to be under pressure. He's going to throw the ball short. It's going to be an extension of the run game, and there's going to be long drives. I want to look right now at their drive chart from last week. I want to see how long these drives lasted for the most part.
Yeah. Oh, as you
first quarter, 8 plays, 27 yards, 4 minutes. 11 plays, 41 yards, 5.5 minutes. 3 plays, 5 yards, a minute, 3 and out. 6 plays, 17 yards. See, look at the very small yards per play, right? Everything that they're doing last week, and again, it's against a better defense. They were 3.8 yards per play. That's pathetic.
Yeah.
By the way, the worst team in the league is Cleveland, 4.3 yards per play. So when you look at last week's Colts, they were a half a yard per play worse than the worst team in the league. but the drives were drawn out. 10 plays, 58 yards, 4.5 minutes off the clock. Late in the game, 7 plays, 23 yards, but took 5.5 minutes off the clock. I just think it's going to be a low scoring, drawn out game. I don't think the Niners are putting up 27 points. I get it. The Colts might be weak to tight ends right now, but the Niners have not run the football well. Shanahan loves to punt. Shanahan loves to kick field goals. The over-under in this game is 46.5. I like the under. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think this game, first to 20 is going to win the game. I think this game might be played in the high 30s. When you have a game like that, that's a slower game. And Rivers is going to do what he has to do. He's going to dink and dunk. He's going to complete short passes. He's going to complete third and shorts. They're going to kick field goals. And the game is going to end up being 17-16.
Okay. I could see it. And maybe the Niners don't fully show up because they have those tough games ahead. I do think there's a chance that Shanahan's able to exploit those weaknesses that I mentioned, like the 2 starting corners being out is, you have cluster injuries there. But then again, Pearsall is not going to play. So that
Niners are very good at Monday night. Shanahan's been very good night games.
Yeah.
Sunday night, Monday night football, the Niners have been pretty good. I don't know their exact record, but I don't think they won't show up. I think they'll show up very nicely. The problem is, are they good enough to shut down the run? Are their linebackers good enough to shut down the short, quick passing game? Mm-hmm. We know they're not going to touch Rivers. You go into the game knowing a couple of things. You know they're not going to touch him. They don't get pressure on Cam Ward. They didn't get pressure on Brissett. And Rivers is going to get the ball out mighty quick. So he's not going to get touched. And you know they're going to kick field goals when they're in field goal range. And you know they're going to punt. They're not going to go for 4th downs when they have opportunities to go for 4th downs. So I think it's going to be a very slow, low scoring, keep the clock moving type of game on both sides. 5.5 is too many points.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it from that perspective. So, yeah, I mean, we can add them if it's a top play, we can certainly add it. So let's real fast. Last question here. Who should I drop for Emmanuel Wilson or sit tight? Yeah, Burrow, Brissett, CMC, JT, QJ, Henderson, Woody, Monty, Brian Robinson Jr. That would be my answer. Puka, Teteroa, Higgins, Michael Wilson, Bowers, Warren. I would drop Robinson for that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Jacobs may not play, so you definitely want to try to get Wilson. Okay, so these are our plays here. So we have 5 definites. We don't really need to discuss the other games. I'll read off the maybes once again, just in case you want them over one of these. But we have the Bears pick 'em, Saints -5.5, Jaguars +3, Lions -7, and Colts +5.5. The maybes, and you already scratched off Bengals, Bengals and Cardinals. The other 3 maybes: Titans +3.5 against the Chiefs, Chargers +2.5 against the Cowboys, and Ravens -3 against the Patriots. Would you take any of those over the 5 we have now?
Would I take any of those? So I kind of like the Chargers getting the 2.5 points. Right? We always look for the dogs. I like the points.
Okay.
I don't think there's as much value. I think there's value in the Titans at 3.5. I hate to advocate for the Titans.
I know.
Would I take him over any of those teams? Probably not.
Yeah, that's fine.
I like the Bears to win. I think that's a good game. I think the Bears should be favored in that game. I think they're going to bounce back and beat them, beat the Packers. I think that game will be close. I like it like 24-21.
Yeah.
I think it'll be very similar to the first game, but the Bears will be on the other side of the last drive to win. Mm-hmm. I love to go against Brady Cook and the Jets. They're not a competitive football team these days. I just talked about the Colts. The Lions, I think, will win by double digits. I don't love it as much as you do, but I do like it. I think there's great value in Jacksonville at +3. I think Jacksonville and the Chargers are similar, except we're getting 3 with Jacksonville and only 2.5 on the Chargers. And then there's the wonderful Titans. So I'd rather not take the Titans because I don't want to have any action on that game at all. You're literally handicapping a team's motivation. And if we're guessing, I think the Chiefs will treat that game like a Week 18 with no preparation.
Yeah. I feel the same way. So, yeah, we can keep this. So, all right. Anything else before we head out?
No. And I hope everybody who listened earlier goes back and understands what live betting ladders looks like. There's opportunities in so many of these games. Don't force it. It's not always there. Doesn't mean you're going to win $6,000 on a bunch of $100 bets every single night. but it is something that you and I have been talking about on more of a regular basis. And there's a lot of opportunity. We talk about the Colts. You're not winning 60 units on the Colts. You might win one or two, but there's opportunities in that game to bet McCaffrey. There's opportunities to bet Jonathan Taylor. There's a lot of opportunity. Maybe Kittle, right? Maybe Purdy if the Niners find themselves behind. So look for those at halftime. Those live betting opportunities are there more than you think if you're paying attention.
The Colts, by the way, 9th worst against tight ends. So if the Niners fall behind, I could see Kittle being live bet there.
Yeah, we've bet on Kittle before a couple times in the live betting arena. I don't love the pass catchers as much. Nakua is a unique type of player because he's getting so much attention from Stafford.
Yeah.
Now, Kittle might be that guy too. So if you see Purdy just peppering Kittle for the most part, it's a good play. But Puka is getting a look. He's like the first read every single time.
Yeah,
so he's a different animal when you're playing the receivers.
Yeah, for sure. I also like the Titans. The tight ends in good matchups. I laddered Theo Johnson last week.
Yeah, I know you told me that.
The Redskins are even worse against tight ends. The Redskins are 2nd worst against tight ends. So I thought Giants behind, they're going to throw to Theo Johnson. He got there. He completed the whole ladder. So, definitely hope you guys found good use of Evan's expertise in these live bets. And in the future, maybe we can all make $6,000 in one night. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Thank you especially to Can't Make It Eagle for the $5 super chat, and also Kevin Kovac for the $25 worth of super chats. You guys are so awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And like I said, Q1's just around the corner, which is always a nightmare. So please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. Visit walterfootball.com for tons of content. Charlie Campbell's going to be updating his 2026 NFL mock draft tomorrow. So you get to look at what the top mock drafter in the world has to say about the drafts coming up in 4 months. So it's going to be right around the corner before we know it. All right, guys. Hope you have a great night. We'll be back tomorrow with Tom, and I will talk to you then.